Hello, my name is Lars Petersen. I'd like to welcome you to our latest movie, Beginner to Winner. Our main goals with this film are to get you quickly, safely and with as much fun as possible down to sailing fast, enjoying this great sport. We have boiled down the best tips out there to give you an easy and complete guide to windsurfing. But first we'll start out with the windsurfing basic for beginners, and by doing so let me also introduce you to British coaching ace Jim Hall. Jim, you're in Maui, the windsurfing mecca. Are you ready to give us some tips?
Yes, you bet, Lars. Since windsurfing's birth, it's had a reputation of being challenging to learn. That has changed now. With the wide and stable modern boards, coaching and this DVD, we're going to take you from beginner to winner. Let's get into it!
Equipment. This section will give you a quick overview of the equipment you're about to see and use. We'll cover their names and usage. Most importantly, there is the board and the rig. The board. Big is beautiful. It is wide, strong and floaty. The buoyancy or volume of boards is measured in litres, and you'll need at least 200 litres of volume in order to ensure suitable buoyancy. This is the front of the board and is also known as the nose. The back of the board is usually square or rounded in shape and is known as the tail. The top of the board is more commonly known as the deck and has a rough feel as it is covered in a non-slip surface. The bottom of the board is smooth so it slips through the water. The dagger board is the large flat plate that slides through the middle of the board and gives resistance for stopping the board going sideways when in the down position. When learning to windsurf, it should be in the down position all the time. The fin is underneath and at the tail of the board. It helps with steering and controls direction of the board. The mast jack is just in front of the daggerboard slot where the mast foot is attached. The centre line runs down the middle of the board from nose to tail and will be where you will be standing. The rig has three parts. The mast is the long pole that holds the sail up and comes in different sizes to match. The sail, which is your engine and comes in lots of different sizes. The boom is what you hold onto while sailing. Booms are adjustable in length so they will fit with a range of sail sizes. The mast foot attaches the rig to the board. The uphaul is used to lift the rig out of the water. You will be getting very acquainted with this. Wetsuits trap a thin layer of water between your body and the suit, and that is then warmed up by body heat. Ensure it fits well and is suitable for the weather conditions. Buoyancy aids are very recommended for learning. The wind is about to be a very important part of your life, as it is the fuel for our great sport. As such, it is important to gain a little more from understanding and awareness about where the wind comes from. There are many ways of establishing where the wind is coming from, but here are a few of the common ones. Flags are one of the easiest indicators for wind. They flutter in the direction the wind is going and are found on many windsurfing beaches. The wind that can be felt on your face when out on the water is also a great wind indicator, especially if you can't see any flags on the beach. Watching the ripples on the water as they move in the direction the wind is blowing also clearly displays the direction the wind is blowing from. As well as being able to work out where the wind is coming from, there are a few terms that should be introduced at this point. If something is referred to as downwind, then it means it is closer to where the wind is blowing to. If something is upwind, then it is closer to where the wind is blowing from. If something is referred to as across the wind, it means that it is at 90 degrees to the wind. As well as wind, you will need a suitable beach or location. It should be shallow shelving in that it is relatively shallow at the water's edge and remaining up to chest depth for as far as possible. Easy launching conditions and a safe environment free of hazards are desired. You need to consider the wind direction when choosing a beach to sail from, with cross to cross on shore conditions being ideal. This means you can easily sail in and out, just like we see here. If the wind is blowing onto the shore or onshore, then launching and sailing is very difficult. Offshore winds that blow off the shore are very dangerous and should always be avoided. We strongly recommend learning at a windsurfing centre, where you will gain more valuable information to be used alongside this DVD. There, you can learn in a safe environment and tap into the knowledge all around you. It is very important to store the equipment safely on the beach. Ensure the mast foot is pointing into the wind and the board is attached with the fin facing upwards with the rig attached. When taking your kit to the beach, bring the board down first and place it with the nose into the wind. This will stop the board getting blown downwind and harming other people on the beach. In order to carry the rig safely and efficiently, you must point the mast foot into the wind, which will allow the wind to blow under the sail and do all the lifting for you. You can then position the rig on your side with one hand on the mast and one hand on the boom and walk forwards. You may have to walk sideways or backwards like this in order to be safe. Position your back hand quite away down the boom. For longer distances and when the wind is not too strong, you can position the sail on your head. Place one hand on the mast above the boom and your other hand on the boom. Position your head so as to keep the sail balanced. Carrying the board. Always pick the board up from the middle when carrying down to or back from the water, or alternatively, get a friend to help and each hold an end. If carrying on your own, roll the board onto its side and standing on the same side as the hull, reach over and grab the daggerboard handle or mast foot, lifting using your legs, not your back. Your other hand is on the daggerboard, which is in its down position. Let's examine how to transport your kit whilst positioned between the board and rig. Come in between your kit and place one hand on the boom with underhand grip near the harness lines. Your other hand grabs the strap nearest the wind, again with an underhand grip. Use your bent knees to lift your equipment. Walk the kit into the water after checking it safe in order to avoid shore break punishment. Start position is a neutral or safe position that can be adopted when standing on the board having lifted the rig out of the water. From here, it is possible to position the board where you want to, turn it round and generally get settled. It is a good idea to always get into the start position before sailing off, slowing down or stopping. Here is a simple step-by-step approach to getting into the start position. Put the daggerboard down and line the board up across the wind with the rig lying on the downwind side. Approach the board from the opposite side to the rig, between the mast foot and daggerboard. Place your hands over the centre line and pull your body over the board. Bring your knees onto the board, keeping your weight over the centre line. Grasp the uphaul for stability and check the wind. Get to your feet, placing them either side of the mast foot and over the centre line. With bent knees, leaning back slightly and holding the uphaul rope with straight arms, stand up using your legs, not your back, and pull the rig partially clear of the water. Work hand over hand up the uphaul to pull the rig out of the water. Grasp the mast below the boom with both hands, keeping your arms extended. Get into a comfortable, relaxed position. Arms extended, knees slightly bent and head up, with a V shape formed between your body and the rig. This is the start position. Top tips: keep weight over the center line of the board. Use legs, not back, to pull the rig out of the water. Maintain a comfortable, relaxed position, arms extended, knees slightly bent and head up, with a V shape formed between body and rig. Upwind rig recovery. There are times when, as you're about to get onto your board, you notice the rig is lying upwind of the board. That is, the same side as the wind. Here is an easy solution to cope with this more challenging uphauling technique. Get onto the board from the opposite side to the rig. Lift the rig only partially clear of the water and wait for the wind to catch the sail, which in turn will gently swing the board and you around. When you have your back to the wind, you can then resume uphauling as per normal into the start position. Once on the board and holding the rig in the start position, it is a good idea to learn how to position and control the board in readiness for getting sailing. This is called static steering. Steering the board while stationary also helps develop a good understanding of how to steer a board when actually sailing, and is also a very useful way of being able to spin the board 180 degrees in a tight space. From the start position, incline the rig towards the back of the board, remembering to keep your arms straight, and the front will turn towards the wind. Incline the rig towards the front of the board and the front will turn away from the wind. With the rig at 90 degrees to the board, it will lie directly across the wind. If you want to turn the board through 180 degrees as you steer the front of the board either towards or away from the wind, take small steps around the mast foot on the opposite side to where the rig is moving. Keep the rig inclined and moving across the board, remembering to keep your arms straight. Return to the start position once the board has turned through 180 degrees. Top tips: always keep arms straight when inclining rig to the back or front of the board. The further you incline the rig, the faster the board will turn. Take small steps when moving your feet around the mast foot. Ensure that you return to the start position if you turn the board through 180 degrees. Standing on the board at 90 degrees to the wind, in your start position, you are ready to commence sailing. As always, here are some steps to get you going. From your start position, pick out somewhere to aim for across the wind and in the direction the board is facing. Take your front hand off the mast and move it across and onto the boom. And take your back hand off the mast as well. Gently move your back foot back, keeping it across the centre line. And also bring your front foot back so that it is next to the mast foot. Turn your shoulders to face forwards, at the same time pulling the rig across you to where it feels light and balanced. The balance point. Immediately place your back hand on the boom and pull the sail in gently. Counterbalance against the movement of the rig by bending your back leg slightly and dropping your body back and down over it, remembering to keep looking forward. Finally, Reposition your hands, feet and body until you feel comfortable. You are now windsurfing across the wind. If you want to slow down or come to a controlled stop, release the back hand from the boom and return to your start position. If you need to stop quickly, then repeat the above process but lower the rig into the water to put the brakes on. Top tips: always select a goal across the wind and keep looking at it whilst sailing. Always draw the rig across you to its balance point before pulling in on the boom with the back hand. Counterbalance at all times of your body against the movement and weight of the rig. Try to make it a smooth and flowing movement throughout. Now that you are up and sailing, it is a good idea to have a look at how to steer your board so as to control your direction a little more and to avoid other people or objects out on the water. This is also a good opportunity to look at how to turn the board around in a slightly more stylish, safe and controlled manner. Steering the board while sailing uses the same principles that you discovered whilst manoeuvring the board during static steering. Steering towards the wind. While sailing across the wind, look upwind and select a new goal point to aim for. Draw the rig across your body and towards the back of the board, extending your back arm. As the rig moves, remember to counterbalance with your body. Rig back, body forwards. The board will steer towards the wind. When you are heading towards your new upwind goal point, bring the rig back to the normal sailing position and pull in slightly with your back hand. Steering away from the wind. From your new upwind sailing position, look downwind at your original crosswind goal point. Draw the rig across your body and towards the front of the board, extending your front arm and pulling in with your back arm. As the rig moves in front of you, drop your body back and keep it low to counterbalance against the movement of the rig. The board will steer away from the wind. When you are heading back towards your original across the wind goal point, bring the rig back to the normal sailing position and ease out slightly with your back arm. Top tips: always look towards where you want to steer and keep looking at it. Counterbalance any movement of the rig with your body. Turning the board. Building on your static steering, we are now going to look at how to turn the board around in a more controlled manner, with the nose of the board going through the eye of the wind. This type of turn is called a tack. While sailing across the wind, steer the board upwind, remembering to keep looking upwind. Move your front hand off the boom and place it on the mast, and wrap your front foot around the front of the mast foot. Look up into the wind and incline the rig towards the back of the board. As the rig moves back, move your body forward. The board will steer into the wind and slow down. Bring your back foot up to join your front foot in front of the mast foot and move your back hand off the boom and place it on the mast as well. Keep the rig inclined. Continue to move it over the back of the board, taking small steps around the mast foot until you reach the start position with the nose of the board facing 180 from your opposite direction. Get back into your same position in the opposite direction across the wind. Top tips: always look where you want to go when steering the board into the wind. Throughout the whole turn, remember to counterbalance against the movement of the rig. always return to the start position at the end of attack before sailing off again so as to know when you have finished. Stance describes how a windsurfer stands on their board holding the rig and feeling comfortable in the conditions they are sailing in. It can be simplified into 4 aspects: head, arms, legs and body. These same basic principles of stance are used by all windsurfers from beginner to winner. The key is to get the fundamentals right from the start and then just keep getting better at the basics. Head. Your head should always be turned to look where you want to go. Arms. Your arms should be extended so that the rig is away from you with your hands shoulder width apart on the boom and in a position where you can feel equal pressure on both arms. Legs. Your legs should be relatively straight but ready to flex with your feet a comfortable hips width apart and positioned so that the board is flat and stable with your front foot facing forward and your back foot across the board. Body. When windsurfing, it is necessary to change your body position to keep yourself feeling stable and comfortable. Usually by concentrating on your head, arms and legs, we will end up in a suitable position. However, if you feel slightly out of control due to more wind or bumpy water, then adopt a lower body position by dropping your hips over a flexed back leg. Alternatively, if you feel slow, perhaps because you are in very light winds or using a small sail, then you should adjust your body position by lifting your hips and allowing your back leg to straighten. Points of sailing are names and terms given to the courses and directions that a windsurfer can sail in relation to the wind and the types of turn that can be done. These terms will be useful to you for your windsurfing progression and will also help you gain more confidence and understanding whilst on and off the water. Sailing across the wind. When you are sailing at 90 degrees to the wind, you are on a beam reach. If the wind is blowing onto the left-hand side of your board first, with your left hand and left foot forward, then you are described as being on port tack. If the wind is blowing onto the right-hand side of your board first, with your right hand and right foot forwards, then you are sailing on starboard tack. Sailing upwind. A board cannot sail directly into the wind. It can, however, sail at an angle of approximately 45 degrees in either direction towards the wind. This upwind course is called close hauled. The area between the two close hauled courses either side of the wind direction is called the no-go zone. If you sail too close to the wind into the no-go zone, the sail loses all power and you will slow down and stop. When you are sailing upwind, you should always be aware of where the wind is coming from so that you stay on the edge of the no-go zone. Having a goal point to aim for while sailing close hauled is very helpful. Sailing downwind. When heading further away from the wind than a beam reach, you are described as sailing on a broad reach. If you sail directly downwind, then you are said to be on a run. Steering and types of turn. Left and right are not used in windsurfing so as to avoid confusion. As a result, when you are steering or turning, other terms are used. When steering upwind, you head up or steer to windward. When steering downwind, you bear away or steer to leeward. Tacking is a turn where you take the nose of the board through the wind. Jibing is a turn where you take the tail of the board through the wind. We will now look at sailing upwind, a skill that will also involve practicing and getting even better at your tacks. As was explained in the points of sail section, it is not possible to sail directly into the wind. But it is possible to sail very close to the wind on either of the close haul directions. You can sail to a goal directly upwind by zigzagging either side of the no-go zone, tacking from one close haul direction to the other. Sailing upwind. While sailing across the wind, pick out an upwind goal point. Look upwind and steer the front of the board towards a new goal using your steering skills. When you're heading towards your new upwind goal point, bring the rig back to the sailing position and pull in slightly with your back hand. You're now sailing upwind on the edge of the no-go zone on a close haul. Tack the board and start sailing across the wind in the opposite direction. Repeat the process of steering upwind onto a close haul in this direction. You're now zigzagging around the no-go zone, making progress upwind. Top tips. Always have a new upwind goal point to aim for so as to help you sailing upwind. And keep you aware and on the edge of the no-go zone. Remember to counterbalance your body against the movement of the rig. When the rig is back, the body is forward. When sailing close hauled, remember to keep the sail pulled in slightly with your back hand. Flagging. Having sailed upwind, a useful tip for getting back downwind again is to practice the self-rescue technique of flagging. Now you're sailing upwind, it is time to look at sailing downwind and another way of turning around called the jibe. This will then enable you to sail on any point of sail in any direction. Sailing downwind is as important as sailing in any other direction. However, when you head downwind, you will experience more power in the sail, and so you should keep lower. You will be able to reach your intended destination downwind on a broad reach or a run. Generally, the easiest and most stable point of sail when learning to sail downwind is a broad reach. If you wish to sail downwind, you can zigzag from broad reach to broad reach using the jibe to change direction. While sailing across the wind, select a goal point downwind and place your back hand further down the boom. Steer downwind by drawing the rig across your body and towards the front of the board, extending your front arm and pulling in with your back arm. As the rig moves in front of you, drop your body back and keep low so as to counterbalance against the rig. Rig forwards, body back. When heading towards your downwind goal point, bring the rig back to the sailing position and ease out of your back hand. You are now sailing downwind. The jibe is a turn where the tail of the board goes through the eye of the wind as the nose passes downwind. You may have experienced this style of turn when practicing static steering by passing the sail over the nose of the board as opposed to the tail. From your downwind sailing position, continue to steer further away from the wind, drawing the rig across you until the front of the board is pointing directly downwind. Move your front foot down the board, placing it over the centre line and just in front of your back foot in a heel to toe position, and then move your back foot up to the mast foot. Your feet will now be in your new sailing position. Rig change. Release your back hand from the boom, allowing the rig to swing over the nose of the board. Grab the mast or the other side of the boom and let go with your other hand. Now get into the sailing position on your new direction. You have now turned your board around using a jibe. Top tips. Pull in with the backhand when steering downwind and ease out with the backhand when sailing on a course downwind. Drop your body back and keep low so as to counterbalance against the increased power in the rig when heading downwind. To control excess power in the rig, move your feet further back down the board and get your body position even lower. Now that you are cruising around on your windsurfer, just as with vehicles on roads, it is necessary to learn some basic rights of way so as to be safe and courteous to other water users. Port gives way to starboard. If you are sailing on port tack, you should keep out of the way of another board or boat that is sailing in the opposite direction on starboard tack. The easiest way to remember this is if your front arm on the boom is your right arm, then you have right of way over anyone coming the other way. Windward gives way to leeward. When two boards are sailing on the same tack, the windward board, the one closest to the source of the wind, must give way to the leeward board, the one furthest downwind. When overtaking, the overtaking board must keep clear. In addition, and to avoid confusion, the board ahead must hold its course to allow the overtaking board to pass either side. Safety and self-rescue. We will now make sure that you are aware of how to look after yourself on the water and sail safely. Think prevention rather than cure. Follow these 7 common senses. Is all your equipment safe and suitable? Clothing. Make sure you are wearing suitable clothing to keep yourself warm and comfortable during your sailing session. The board. Check the mast foot, UJ and deck plate for signs of wear and tear and ensure the fin is secure and in good condition. The rig. Check that all ropes are secure and in good condition. Masts and booms should be checked for signs of wear and tear and should be replaced if there is any doubt. The most common need for rescue is equipment failure. Tell someone where you're going and when you'll be back. Always ensure that a responsible person knows that you have gone on the water and that you have returned. Obtain a forecast for the local sailing area. To avoid getting caught out by changing conditions, get a weather forecast. Are you capable of handling the prevailing conditions? Ensure that you are adequately experienced to deal with the conditions that you are going out in. Developing your skills in more challenging conditions should be done at a safe location. If in doubt, don't go out. Sail with others. It's a lot more fun to windsurf with others. Not only do you learn from each other, but also there'll always be somebody there close should you need a hand. Avoid strong tides, offshore winds, and poor visibility. Consider other water users. Sometimes, however, conditions or circumstances are simply out of your control and you may need help. If this is the case, there are a variety of simple ways of attracting the attention of an instructor, a safety boat, or just the nearest person to you who might be able to help or at least could alert others on land that definitely could. The international distress signal is when you repeatedly raise and lower both arms either side of your body whilst kneeling or sitting on your board. Blowing a whistle. The key is to act immediately when you realise that you need help so as not to drift out of sight or earshot. Self-rescue. Ultimately, there might be a time when you need to help yourself and self-rescue. Turtle. An alternative technique for helping yourself in no wind or very light wind when you're struggling to sail is the turtle method. Lie down between the boom and sail so you're lying on the inside of the boom with the sail over the top of you. The mast foot should be facing forwards with the boom clear of the water. Paddle back to shore. If you are struggling to get downwind through being too tired or the wind being too strong, you can use a technique known as flagging downwind. From your start position, lean the rig towards the front of the board until both board and sail are pointing downwind. Stand just behind the rig with your feet either side of the mast foot and let the wind blow you downwind. By leaning the rig from side to side, you can steer. Full D-rig. This method is an extreme style of self-rescue where you take apart the rig to enable you to paddle ashore without the rig hindering you. Use of the full D-rig to self-rescue should be considered as a last resort because D-rigging in open water is extremely difficult. Golden rules for self-rescue. Always paddle or steer to the nearest bit of land rather than trying to get back to where you might have launched. Never abandon a board as it is your buoyancy. Understanding the basics of how to rig a sail is a great way to become more involved and independent in windsurfing and leads to further exciting things such as buying and owning a rig, using different models and designs, and getting even more hooked on our great sport. Rigging your sail. Lay all the components of the rig out on the ground. Slide the mast up the luff tube, thin end first, and make sure the top of the mast goes right to the top of the sail and sits firmly in the end. Put the mast foot into the base of the mast and thread the downhaul line through the eyelet or pulley system at the bottom. Apply a small amount of tension. Attach the head of the boom to the mast using the clamping system on the boom. Thread the outhaul through the holes on the end of the boom and through the eyelet on the sail, applying a small amount of tension. Pull on the downhaul until the bottom of the sail is down to the mast foot. This may require some effort. Pull on the outhaul until the clew is next to the end of the boom. To finish off, tie off any loose ropes and remember to check the uphaul is attached to the mast foot and the head of the boom. Ensure your boom is at chest height. To de-rig, do the above process in reverse order, taking care to release tension from downhaul and outhaul gently and gradually.
Some might say windsurfing is a difficult sport. It's been described as simple but not easy. Luckily, Jim has got some tips to make it all a lot easier.
There should be a common theme running through the sport from beginner to winner. In order to ensure that you learn and improve fast, you should practice these basic fundamentals whilst on the water. Look where you want to go, maintain a flat board and keep that mast away. Doing these will really enhance your windsurfing performance.
Throughout this DVD, we'll be using graphical icons to draw your attention to the key fundamentals required to guarantee your progression from beginner to winner. Look where you want to go. Where your head goes, your body will follow. By looking in the right direction, you will be rewarded with a flat board and more dynamic body positions. Flat board. Flat is fast and speed is your friend. By adhering to this, you'll plane earlier, sail faster and be more consistent in your transitions. Rig away. By having distance from the rig, we are more able to control and direct its power. In order to have a flat board, we must keep the rig away. Bent back leg. Though not a fundamental, it is one of the most common coaching points around. If you are low, you can pull down the boom and reap the rewards of a flat board. We will also be using icons for passing on information. Caution! This icon will flash up should we want to draw your attention to something. Thumbs down. This is telling you how not to do it. Thumbs up. This is what we all want on our windsurfing and tells you that this is a good example. In order to assist you in understanding this DVD, we'll have information tools displayed at the bottom. These are wind direction, wind strength. Green is light wind, yellow is medium wind, red is strong wind. Board size. Green is a big board from 150 to 200 litres. Yellow is a medium board from 110 to 120 litres. Red is a small board from 75 to 105 litres. Sail size. Green is a small sail from 4 metre to 5 metre. Yellow is a medium sail from 5'7" to 6'5". Red is a big sail from 7.5 to 9 metre. In light winds, we have a big board and a small sail, so it's all green.
Once you've learned the basics on the big board, you can move on to the exciting world of shortboarding. The equipment here can benefit from more specialized tuning, so we'll start with looking at how to set it up right. Jim, you've got some great tips for us.
Absolutely, Lars. The tuning of the equipment is really important, and with the right setup, you can improve much faster and sail with more efficiency. Let's look at how we should set our kit up.
The main settings that will influence how your equipment will react on the water is the boom height, harness line position and length, mast track position, foot strap position and size, fin choice, and last but not least, the sail's downhaul and outhaul tension. Your boom height is personal to your stature, but more often than not, having a relatively high boom will give you many benefits, including weight on the rig for early planing and the ability to pull down on the boom to keep the board flat. However, if you're learning to use the harness for the first time, please bring your boom down to chest height so it's easier to hook in. For taller riders, over 1.80 m tall, set your boom height to 2 fingers or more off the tail of the board. This will equate to a shoulder-high boom and really allows you to hang off the boom and enjoy a flat board. Shorter riders, up to 1.70 m in height, should set their boom to 1 finger off the tail of the board, or move it down further according to their height. Ultimately, you are aiming for a shoulder-high boom, and remember to use the back of the board as a reference. The boom height can also be used to give you more power or more control. In stronger winds, you have an option to lower the boom in order to bring you more over the board. With your weight over the board, you can weight the board when overpowered and get back in control. Advanced riders tend to keep to their favoured height and get down lower for more control. To get more power in lighter winds, you also have the option of raising the boom in order to get more weight on the rig and allow you to hang off it. Many advanced sailors favour a higher boom, but please do tune it to your preference. As a starting point, position your front harness line an arm's length down the boom, or use your hands to measure the position up to 5 hand whips down the boom for medium-sized sails. You must assess where the sail is pulling from and set the lines accordingly in order to get the best use of your harness. Bigger sails and more overpowered conditions often see the power point moving back in the sail, and you would move the lines accordingly. Setting your harness lines correctly will give you more time in the water, more speed and more control. The back harness line should be spread a maximum of a hand's width down the boom. I personally find my sail to be more in tune to the wind with my harness lines closer together, which allows me to be more responsive. Adjust the line to be longer than your forearm, with your elbow in the line and palm around the boom. With longer lines, you have more space from the rig and are more able to get low and flatten the board. If you're using a seat harness or you have a lower boom, then you may choose to go for line length from elbow to thumb. Where we position the mast foot has a big effect on the trim of the board. With the mast foot in its best position, the board is flat through early planing, blasting and carving. In order to have a point of reference, it is best to mark a point at 1.35 m from the tail of your board. This is a good starting off point, and many sailors of all levels use this. If it is getting windy and you are having problems keeping your board flat, then it is best to move your mast foot forward. Alternatively, if you want to make the board more lively for lighter winds or to raise the nose up in jumping, then you can bring the mast foot back. The most common is to have 2 front foot straps and 1 or 2 at the back. On manoeuvrable boards, such as freestyle wave boards, it's normal just to have 1 strap at the back. But on the beginners boards and bigger freeriding boards, it's normal to have 2 straps at the back. As a beginner to foot straps, you should place the straps in a forward position. Then, as you get better, you can move the foot straps further back. Some boards also have the option for having the front foot straps closer to the centre. With the straps forward, it's easier to get in and the board becomes more forgiving. With the foot straps in the right place, you'll now also have to adjust the size of the strap.
You want to be able to have the foot well into the strap so you can see all the toes, and the strap sits nicely over the widest point of your foot. This will give you ball control and allow easier carving. Many advanced riders, pros and I find it most comfy with bigger straps, which allows us to carve harder and jump better. Not only can we change our foot strap positions, but we can also change our fin size. Fins come in all shapes and sizes, and it is well recommended to have more than one fin per board, as it will give your board more wind range. If we look at the JP XviD 150, it comes with a 48cm fin, which is great for sails from 7 to 9 metres. However, if we were to be sailing in stronger winds, then we can put a 37cm fin in, and this will make the board easier to carve and to control, as a smaller fin will create less lift. Taking this down to the JP Super X 116, which comes with a 37cm fin, then we can move the straps inboard and have a single back strap with a smaller free move fin. This will make the board looser and more controllable with sails under 6 metre. The JP Freestyle Wave 93 comes with a 27cm stock fin, and the board can be made looser with a smaller fin, or its freestyle performance in stronger winds improved with a smaller freestyle fin. As a rule, bigger fins are for lighter winds, bigger riders and larger boards. As the board size and sailor weight comes down, so too does the fin size. Advanced riders use smaller fins as they can plane earlier and sail faster and do not require as much lift from the fin. Try to work towards using smaller fins and you will move from beginner to winner faster. It is important to have your sail tuned correctly, as this will lead to better control while blasting, with a stable sail that twists and responds in gusts and lulls and during moves. A sail with not enough downhaul will be very unstable and have no drive. It can be recognised by having too much shape in the bottom half of the sail, particularly around the luff tube. The boom cutout will also be very loose, and the shape will go right up to the head. You'll also see that the leech will be relatively tight. Increasing the downhaul will take the excess shape out of the foot of the sail, but it still gives you the engine required. As the downhaul increases, the shape comes out of the top of the sail and the leech goes floppy. And this gives you the exhaust required to release excess power and twist. You get an idea of the shape in the sail and how it works by flicking the mast of the sail up and down. The bottom half, the engine, has shape to give it lift where you need it, and the top half has less shape so as not to have so much pull from high up. This is where the exhaust is located, and the twist in the sail gives you the control required. A great way to assess how much shape is in the sail is to push with both hands on the window panel. This tells you how much engine you have. If you increase the outhaul by 1 or 2 centimeters, this will give you more control by reducing your engine size. This is great for stronger winds and more overpowered conditions. Decreasing outhaul by 1 to 2 centimeters will increase the size of your engine and therefore give you more power due to the extra shape in the bottom half of the sail. You can then assess how much shape is in the sail by pushing on the window panel. With more engine,
you can get planing earlier and gain more speed in lighter or more underpowered conditions. We have now looked at all the areas on your equipment that can be tuned. Tuning your kit effectively will get the best out of your board and sail and make improvements in your sailing that much easier. So experiment with your tuning and find out what works best for you.
Knowing how to leave and land from shore is very important, as it will protect your equipment and keep you safe from injury. If you let the wind do a lot of the work, the equipment becomes lighter and easier to carry. Give us the lowdown on getting out and back in, Jim.
We'll be looking at how to be safe when carrying your equipment, how to get out and get back in, and when to do it. Lastly, if you perform this well, then you will certainly have a lot more beach cred.
When taking your kit to the beach, bring the board down first and place it with the nose into the wind. In order to carry the rig safely and efficiently, you must point the mast foot into the wind, which will allow the wind to blow under the sail and do all the lifting for you. You can then position the rig on your side with one hand on the mast and one hand on the boom and walk forwards. For longer distances and when the wind is not too strong, you can position the sail on your head. Place one hand on the mast above the boom and your other hand on the boom. Position your head so as to keep the sail balanced. Let's look at the methods for carrying the kit into and out of the water. The rider between the board and rig is the easiest and most common. From here you are well positioned to slide the board into the water, which is useful for bigger boards. With the rider upwind of both the board and rig, the equipment can be carried higher, which is useful in shore break and waves. If you're carrying smaller kit or keeping your equipment out of the waves, then carrying the kit on your head is very useful, though more challenging. We will now take a closer look at the top tips for these carrying methods. Firstly, let's examine how to transport your kit whilst positioned between the board and rig. Come in between your kit and place your hand on the boom with underhand grip near the harness lines. Your other hand grabs the front strap nearest the wind, again with an underhand grip. Walk the kit into the water after checking it safe in order to avoid shore break punishment. Hold the kit high above the water in order to avoid it getting stuck in the waves. Throw the kit forward into the water as a wave passes under you. Your strap hand goes to the mast above the boom to lift the sail over your head, and then you are ready to beach start. Carrying your kit with your body upwind keeps the kit relatively high and is safer and quicker in shore break. When in your depth, turn the kit downwind and throw it forwards into the water. The front hand transfers to the mast above the boom and draws the rig over your head. The coolest way to carry your kit is definitely on your head. Whilst positioned on your head, it is comfy for long distances and great for launching over shore break. Place your front hand on the mast below the boom and your head in the sail. Your back hand goes onto the front windward or back strap. Turn the board downwind to raise the clew and throw the kit forwards into the water. Transfer your front hand above the mast to draw the sail over your head, ready to beach start. Now that you're leaving the beach in style, let's get you to land with some control. There are many interesting ways that people use to come in, and some are for sure not looking cool. More importantly, they are not safe and can put you, your kit and other sailors in danger. Now, which way would you choose to come in? In order to land safely, come in behind a wave and sheet out with the back hand to slow down, but keep pressure down through the front hand to keep the nose down. When in your depth, step off upwind with the front foot first and then the back foot. Push the kit up the beach and then come in between the board and rig to lift the kit up. Remember to turn the board downwind to lift the clew. You may also choose to land and carry your kit to downwind of you. Remember to swing the nose downwind in order to lift the clew and then turn into the wind in order to walk across the wind. Lastly, for the uber stylish, you can leave the water with your kit on your head. Get out of the straps and come in behind a wave. Transfer your front hand onto the mast and reach down for the back strap and lift your kit into the wind through bent knees. Choose the most suitable method for you to launch and land. Be safe and be cool.
Now we've been through some of the basic shortboard techniques, but we also need to take a look at how to get you going from the beach. Uphauling is possible even on small boards, but it can be tricky and exhausting. Therefore, you should learn how to do the beach start. Jim, what's the word on the beach?
Having the ability to beach start will mean less effort in leaving the beach and will mean you arrive on the board in the sailing position and ready to get some speed. We'll first go through a quick guide to the beach start and then go through all the details.
First, you need to get into position after launching your equipment. Move around behind the tail whilst holding the sail up with your front hand on the mast. Pull the sail across you and upwind and then place both hands on the boom. Position yourself upwind and towards the tail of the board and then steer the board to bring it across the wind. Once in position, place the back foot on the board. Pull in with the back leg and sheet in with the back hand whilst your front hand reaches forwards and up, with your head moving forwards and in towards the mast foot. Lastly, place the front foot on the board. Look upwind, stay low and off you go. Now, let's break it down to smaller bits. Let's start with the timing.
The timing is very important. You need to take into account the shore break and wind direction. The best conditions are waist depth water and side shore with medium wind. Before launching, you should first watch your shore break carefully and then observe the pattern of the waves coming in. Get close to the water, and then when you see a gap just after a wave is broken, go for the launch. The technique of stepping up onto the board in the beach start is quite simple. However, you must first learn to control the board and rig and get them in the best position to complete the beach start. Here's how you manage this part. Aim to keep the rig above you with the clew out of the water. Put your front hand on the mast and draw the sail across you. Then place both hands down the boom in the sailing position. You should be upwind of the board and towards the tail. Extend the front arm whilst pulling in with the back arm to keep the rig up in light winds. When it's windy, hold the rig lower. Having your hands down the boom will assist in steering and make getting up a lot easier. This is your basic beach start stance. The steering is as you would do in light winds when manoeuvring up and downwind. If you tilt the rig forward while sheeting in with the back hand and look downwind, you'll get the nose of the board turning away from the wind. To get the nose pointing into the wind, look upwind, bend the front arm and push out with the back arm. In order to get the nose downwind, you need to apply pressure into the mast foot. And this is achieved by imagining that you are trying to push the mast through the board. Throughout the steering process, the rig is actually twisting like a giant set of handlebars. Your feet will shuffle around so as to keep your hips and shoulders facing the boom. Ensure that you are in a position upwind and towards the tail of the board. Okay, we have our steering skills now, so get in a position with the board across the wind and let's get up and away. Place the back foot on the board first and pull your back foot in, and then twist the rig forwards on an extended front arm in order to put the rig in a powerful upright position to pull you up. Your back leg assists by pulling in and pushing you upwards onto the board. Let's look at some specific points now. Place your back foot on the board with the heel towards the upwind rail and the toes pointing up. Your back leg will be bent to assist you in steering and control before getting up and away. The back leg is then ready to pull in to power the rig up and propel you upwards. If it's light winds, put the back foot further forward. Now you're ready to go, so pull your back heel to your bottom and twist the rig forwards and up, and keep your back leg bent as you sail away. While twisting the rig, your head moves forwards and in towards the mast foot.
It's your back leg pulling in and rig going up and forward that gets you up. Remember to open the sail once up and away to get you back in control. Remember to eat the mast foot. Okay, let's look at some common faults. Getting pulled forward by the rig. If a gust of wind catches you off guard or you steer too far downwind and find yourself getting overpowered, then you need to look upwind, sheet out and pull the boom in with the front arm. If you can't keep the sail up, then it may be because you are not extending your arms enough. You therefore need to keep your front arm extended with the back arm pulling in. Sometimes you almost get up but keep falling back down. Keep extending the front arm and sheeting in whilst your head moves forward and in.
When sailing in strong winds, you're handling a lot of power, and to fully enjoy it, you must be able to use a harness. Here's Jim with all the information you need.
Thanks, Lars. The harness is a wonderful tool. Once mastered, it allows you to effortlessly hang out and use your body weight to hold the sail as it unloads your arms and back. This leaves you in full control to enjoy blasting over the water and to sail for longer periods.
The harness is a wonderful tool. Once mastered, it will allow you to effortlessly hang off the boom whilst utilising your body weight to hold the sail. This lightens the load on your arms and back and leaves you in full control to enjoy blasting over the water. The harness is an engineered piece of cloth, padding and plastic that is designed to give perfect support to unload the body. Since everyone is different, it's important to try on different harnesses in order to find the one that fits you perfectly. Without the harness, shortboarding in strong winds wouldn't really be possible. You are handling so much power in these conditions that even somebody in great shape wouldn't last very long. You can start sailing with the harness after you have mastered the basics on a big board. It can also be beneficial in moderate winds to build up much needed endurance in your windsurfing muscles, and therefore you could learn to use a harness after doing this. The combination of improving your stance both in and out of the harness will ensure a quick progression to sailing smaller boards in stronger winds. There are basically two types of harness, the waist harness and the seat harness. The main difference being that the waist harness has a higher hook and you therefore hang out with a straighter body position. Whereas the seat harness with its lower hook lets you adopt a more seated position and keeps the power transfer lower. The waist harness is mostly used by improvers and manoeuvre-oriented riders such as wave sailors and freestylers who need to get in and out of the lines more often and require maximum freedom around the legs with the absence of straps. It is also the most popular type of harness. The seat harness is more for the speedsters, cruisers and racers. Some may find the seat harness to be anatomically better for them. If you're going to use a harness for the first time, we suggest you get a waist harness, as it eases the learning considerably. When first trying to sail with a harness, it is vital to get the right kind of conditions to learn in. So pick a day with non-planing conditions,
constant wind and flat water, and use a big board with a medium-sized sail. Before you go in the water, it's important to have your harness line set up correctly, so please refer to the tuning chapter for more information on placement and length of lines. In order to ensure smooth hooking and unhooking, make sure your harness is done up nice and tight, and then re-tightened after you've been in the water for a while. The action required to get hooked in is actually quite simple and not that scary. Here's what you do. Sail along in your normal stance across the wind. Have a quick look at the lines and then pull the sailing towards you while simultaneously lifting your hips up to meet the line. When the line connects with a hook, drop your hips down to commit to the harness line and look forward. As soon as you're hooked in, resume your normal stance with the shoulders out and hips down whilst looking forward and upwind for gusts and lulls. To unhook, continue in your stance with the rig away and hips committed to the lines, and then give a short pull on the boom. This releases the tension on the lines, and the lines will then drop out from the hook. Once on the water, you may have to readjust the position of the lines as conditions and circumstances change. As the wind increases and the sail gets more powered up, the draft can move backwards, and this may be out of position from where you previously placed the lines. In such an event, move both the lines towards the arm with the most pull until the harness lines become balanced with an even pull on both arms. In the beginning, when you are in a harness, you might feel like you are locked in position and a bit out of control. But you can still make the body adjustments required to maintain a good stance. If you come into a lull, the power in the sail drops, and so to avoid falling backwards, you can bring your weight over the board by pushing the boom away on extended arms and raising your hips whilst bringing your front knee towards the mast. However, if the rig is powering up in a gust and you're getting pulled forward, just lean out on extended arms and drop your body weight down and back for a bent back leg. You can head upwind to control more power, and from here you would sheet in with the rear shoulder to maintain power and keep speed. If you find yourself out of control, look and head upwind by raking the rig back and bringing your body forwards. You can then unhook safely. Steering is most effective through the feet scissoring and looking where you want to go. Here are some more tips to give you more control in using the harness and allow you to look somewhat cooler. A great way to improve your harness work is to lighten your grip on the boom, almost like you are playing the piano. This forces you to become more committed to the lines through dropping of the hips. As you get more used to this, then lift off one hand at a time. This will also tell you if your lines are in the right place. Your final goal is to be confident sailing along one-handed. Get good at this and practice it a lot. It will really improve your stance and give you control and confidence for those smaller boards and stronger winds. If you get pulled over by the rig, then keep the rig away at arm's length and fall onto the sail with your knees. If you go in backwards and remain hooked in, try to relax and come towards the boom with your hips and sweep the line out with a hand. If you're losing control and about to get pulled forward by the rig and go out the front door, then just sheet in and go with it. Once you're going, it's best to follow the rig round and pull in with a backhand. You will land away from the kit with you and your board intact, and it will be great training for the forward loop.
When you have learned to use a harness and you're going to move at higher speeds and planing, you'll soon feel the need to get in the foot straps. Because at the higher speeds, the board can become like a rodeo bull, wanting to throw you off. Let's take a look at what you need to know about the straps. Over to you, Jim.
Thanks, Lars. The foot straps and planing are inseparable. You can't really have one without the other. The skills we're going to cover in this chapter are the ticket for real shortboarding. Getting in the foot straps and planing are two very closely linked actions. You need to get planing in order to get into the straps, and this is more easily achieved on bigger boards as they are more stable and plane easier. Using the forward or training straps we showed you in the tuning chapter will help you keep the board flat and therefore maintain speed whilst you are learning. It is advisable to practice getting in the straps in light winds so that you can get used to the feeling of it. Get the ball going across the wind with power in the rig. With your weight over a bent back leg, lift your front foot up and place it in the front strap. Try to keep looking forward and pulling down on the boom to do this. Take the weight onto the front foot briefly and pivot the back foot into the strap. Once they are in, keep looking forwards and pulling down on the boom. To keep the board flat from side to side, push down hard through your toes. The board is kept flat from end to end by doing this. Now that you have got the feeling in light winds, let's get some speed up. So we'll now look at getting the board planing and moving into the foot straps. In order to get planing, we need to get our weight onto the rig and drive the board forward. This is achieved by looking forward, keeping the board flat and keeping the mast away. Let's look at where we position the feet so as to keep the board flat. The back foot is behind the front straps and facing across the board. The front foot faces forward and is towards the mast foot. If it's really windy, then it'll be further back on the board so as to be able to resist the sail's pull. The mast is put into a powerful position to get you planing by being forwards and upright. Get the rig in this position by really extending the front arm. Now we need to drive the board forward to release it from the water and get planing. So get down low for a really bent back leg and push the board forwards with a straight front leg. The board should be off the wind to get planing in comfortably powered conditions. If you have a lot of power, then take an upwind course. The lower you get, the more stable you are. and if you stay low, you will stay dry and get that board planing fast. Okay, so you're now planing and you definitely want to get into those foot straps. Assuming you have your equipment tuned right, you can get into the straps after hooking in or before. It is best to be good at both, and we strongly recommend getting in the front strap first before hooking in when you're learning, as this will assist you later on in achieving planing exits from calf jibes. Let's look at the specifics of how we get into the front strap. Get your feet in position with the mast forward and body back. With your weight on the bent back leg, lift the front foot and place it in the strap. Keeping the back leg bent maintains a flat board and takes the weight off the front foot so it can move. Once into the front strap, you can bring the board upwind to make hooking in easier. After hooking in the sail, it's then sheeted in by sinking down and out with the rear hip as you fully commit to the harness. Your shoulders will move from facing up the board to facing across it. This will assist you in sheeting the sail in as your body moves down and out. Once the board is up to speed, you can get into the back strap. Move the back foot down the board until it is then next to the back straps. Make sure you have plenty of power and speed and then head slightly upwind and bring the rig back. Momentarily take your weight onto the front foot, then pop your back foot in the strap. Once in there, really commit to the harness and get the board flying. Keep looking forward all the time whilst doing this. If you are having problems getting in the back straps, then you can rotate on your heel and let your big toe find the strap. Now you can get the board really flying as you get down low and fully commit to the harness. In windy conditions, it's a good tip to head upwind to give you more control and get into both straps before hooking in. Your main direction will be sailing upwind, and it's important to stay down really low. By getting the straps first, you'll be anchored to the board and safer. This gives you a strong base from where to hook in. Let's sum up. Look forward. Get the board flat with a bent back leg and keep the mast forward on a straight front arm. The front foot moves back to just in front of the straps. Lift it up and then pop it in. Get into a fast stance with the hips low and out whilst the upper body moves outboard and faces more across the board. Go upwind by taking the rig back and the body forward. Pivot on your heel to get the back foot in the strap.
One thing is beach starting, standing with both feet on the bottom. But how about the water start? What's the story about water starts, Jim?
Well, the actual technique of getting up on the board is not the hardest part, provided you have enough wind. The real challenge is to recover the rig and then position the board so you're ready in the sweet spot. This is something that we will focus on a lot in this chapter. Before we go into all the details, let's go through a quick guide to the water start. Ensure the mast is across the wind and then swim backwards to release the water off the sail. Pull the rig over your head and into the wind and place backhand and then front hand onto the boom. Bear board away by extending the front arm and move upwind towards the back of the board. Place your back foot heel down between the straps. Then pull the board in with a bent back leg as you extend and twist the rig forwards.
Move your head forwards and in towards the mast foot. As you come up, place your front foot on the board and keep the back leg bent. Look forward and sail away. Now, let's break the move down into the key parts of rig recovery, board positioning and up and away. We are firstly going to look at up and away as this draws upon our beach starting skills. Then we will put the whole move together and look at other variations. In order to get up and away, we need to coordinate many actions at the same time. From our sweet spot, the back foot pulls the board in as your front arm extends and twists the rig. The head moves forwards and in towards the mast foot, straight down in the water, and will arrive on the board when you are almost all the way up. As you sail away, you must stay low over the bent back leg and look forward, ready to accelerate. Building on some skills we already have, we can practice some moves that will improve our ability to get up and away. From a beach start, drag your front leg, and this will make you bend your back leg and extend your front leg down in the water. You will need to pull down on the boom, eat the mast foot and keep your back foot pulled in. This is an excellent drill. You can also practice your leg drags on a reach in light to medium winds. With the board across the wind, get low by bending your back leg and then place your front foot in the water. As you put your front leg further in the water, your arms extend and your back leg has to bend further. Really pull down the boom for your front arm and aim to eat the mast foot. To get the power from the rig, it is very important to have your hands shoulder width apart and back down the boom around the harness lines. As you come up, keep your arms extended and your body beneath the boom. Positioning of the back foot and the up and away is very important. It is placed between the straps with the heel down and towards the windward rail and with toes up. This means we can really pull in with the back leg and our foot arrives on the board in the sailing position. With the front leg straight down, this acts as a dagger board to stop you drifting sideways and kicks to give us that extra bit of propulsion before you come onto the board. Now that you are the up and away master, we can look at getting you into that position in deep water through gaining rig recovery skills. The main tip for this is to use the wind and your body in the most efficient way, as is technique and not strength clears the rig from the water. The most simple way to recover the rig is to do it with the board facing into the wind. The major tip for getting the sail out of the water is that you start from the right position, which is with the wind coming straight at the mast at right angles. Swim backwards to release water off the rig and draw air underneath it. This means the wind is doing a lot of the work for you. Then pull the rig over your head and into the wind, place your back hand on the boom and you are ready to position the board. If the mast is not across the wind, then you can push on the nose of the board until the wind is at 90 degrees to the rig. With the nose into the wind and the mast across the wind, the board and rig act like an aeroplane and you can use the wind to take off and fly the rig. An alternative way to fly the rig is to swim sideways towards the wind and with one hand on the mast, throw the rig forward into your other hand. This is like throwing a javelin and uses stronger muscle groups in your body. If you keep swimming into the wind, then the wind will always be there to help you as the sail will be clear of the water. transfer your hands onto the boom and then move upwind towards the tail of the board. You are then in a position to steer more effectively and resist the sail's power. The sail can fall in many different ways, and it's best to clear the rig so that you have to swim the shortest distance. When the rig falls into the wind, then it's best to clear the rig from the mast tip. Check your wind direction and swim to the mast tip. Lift it up into the wind and give it a shake. You can then work down the sail whilst keeping the wind under the sail by holding the mast up. Transfer your backhand and then your front hand onto the boom and move towards the back of the board, where you can position the board in readiness to get up and away. The sail may also fall downwind of the board, and this requires you to clear the rig over the back of the board. Check where the wind is coming from and then swim the kit so the mast is 90 degrees to the wind with the board across the wind. From here, get in position upwind towards the tail of the board and put your front hand on the mast above the boom. Your backhand goes onto the tail of the board. Being upwind and away from the board means you can lift the rig across and into the wind. Once again, this draws the wind under the sail and keeps the water off it and stops the clew from sinking. So make sure you are upwind and draw the rig across and into the wind. Let's look at some ways to recover the rig and go in the direction you desire. Remember, you should always look to swim the shortest route to clear your rig and let the wind do the work. If the rig falls on the opposite side to where you want to go, then you can clear the rig and drive the board and sail in order to water start in your desired direction. Clear the rig, then bear the board away and drive the sail. Try to keep the rig flying and turn your head to assist you in jibing the sail. In order to keep the wind in the sail, it is best to grab the mast after flipping, as this will always allow you to hold the rig higher. You can then get in the sweet spot and get up and away. In strong winds, it is also best to water start closer to the wind and really stay low on your exit. We have looked at how to clear the rig over the tail of the board and also how you can use these skills to clear the rig over the nose. From upwind, draw the rig across and into the wind and then swim to the back of the board, keeping the wind in the sail. And as you reach the tail, let the sail jibe. Use the mast to keep the rig flying and turn your head to assist the flip. You are now ready to go. Now that you are able to clear the rig, let's get you into the sweet spot to enable you to position the board correctly for getting up and away. The sweet spot is upwind and towards the tail of the board, where you can steer effectively and control the sail's power. Keep looking forward and upwind to see where you are pointing. The position and steering technique is the same as for the beach start. In lighter winds, position yourself across the wind, and in stronger winds, the sweet spot will be more upwind. The action of getting up and away takes you downwind and gives you more power, so your sweet spot will be more towards the wind. Okay, let's recap for the whole water start. Recover the rig using the wind and always lift the rig across and into the wind. Getting your sweet spot upwind and towards the tail. From here you can steer accordingly. Put your back foot on and pull your heel to your bottom whilst you eat the mast foot with extended arms. The front foot goes on last and stay low over your bent back leg and then look forward to sail away. So, you are thinking the tips must end here, but now we will look at other very useful variations of the water start. Sometimes the wind just is not there, so after recovering the rig, put your front hand on the mast to get the rig higher and therefore increase its power. With a bit more power, you can now really bend that back leg and eat the mast foot to get up and away. Try to stay really low throughout and pull down through both hands into the mast foot to give you more leverage. It's hard work, but you will get there. If the wind is very light, then you must keep the sail flying even with your head below the water. So extend those arms and wait for a bit more wind. Then when it comes, you are ready to go and will not have to recover the rig again, and your hard work and patience will be rewarded. You may end up in a position with the board flipped over and the rig still flying, and it is possible from here to still get up and away and flip the board as you come up. The technique for this is to spread your legs either side of the mast foot and either flip before you come up, or as you come up, use your feet to push the board over. Wrap your feet around the rail and point the board into the wind to give the rails grip. Then extend and twist those arms and eat the mast foot whilst the feet flip the board and then slide down to centre line, ready to sail away. The water start can also be performed clue first, and this is useful if we keep the rig flying from a crashed jibe. The main tips are the same, except you do the up and away much more off the wind. Being more off the wind makes the rig more stable in windy conditions. If you need more power in lighter winds, come up further towards the wind. After coming up, control the rig clue first before rotating it. You may also decide to recover the rig and then do a clue first up and away, rather than rotate the rig. After clearing the rig, get the board off the wind, come up and stay low. Get the board off the wind to get stable for your clue first sailing, and as you rotate the rig, look forward. In lighter winds, you can narrow your grip on the boom to give you more power for the up and away. After coming up, make sure you get your hands wider to control the rig clue first before rotating it. You can widen your grip for windy clue first starts to give you more control. That's all for the water start, so fly those rigs and good luck getting up and away.
In this chapter, we'll look at the function of your stance. Stance is how your body is positioned in relationship to the equipment. And why is this important, Jim?
Because a good sailor with the correct stance can produce power, control power, keep speed and go fast. This means that they will have a lot more fun and far more opportunity to practice their turns and get airborne.
Let's look at how we can get you cruising through lulls and really get some speed up while staying in control in the stronger winds. The faster you go, the more fun and easier windsurfing is.
With more speed, you're also more able to sail upwind effectively, and this means you can go downwind to work on your drives and try other moves and jumps. We'll also look at how to improve your stance and control spin out when it all goes wrong. But firstly, let's look at how we can get planing faster. The main early planing tips are to look forward, get the rig forward on extended arms, the hands shoulder width apart and close to the harness lines. Your back leg will be bent with the front leg driving the board forward. If you concentrate on all these tips, you will plane so much earlier and be able to use smaller boards and sails. The easiest way to improve your stance is to concentrate on the fundamentals we presented earlier, and we will be referring to these a lot in this chapter. Another way to come up to speed faster is the easy pump. Whilst hooked in and low, head off the wind and gently pull in with the back arm. And as the sail comes in, bend your back leg and drive the board forwards for a straight front leg and through your toe side. This will give you a bit more airflow and momentum, and then you can pop your front foot in the strap and accelerate. Okay, now we are planing. Let's get up to full speed and fast, and the best way to do this is to use the accelerator. With your hands wide and body in boards, you can lose speed, but once you narrow your hands and move outboard, the board really takes off. As you distance yourself from the rig with your hands closer together, this puts the rig more upright and therefore increases its power. Look forward and upwind in order to scan for gusts that you can use to gain more speed. The shoulders move outboard and your body locks out while the hips lift inboards. The board will now flatten off and really accelerate. Lock and lift for light wind speed. You can also bear away slightly for more speed. Lastly, as always, get your back leg bent. Once you've put the effort in to get planing, it's important to keep planing in the lighter winds. And as well as using the accelerator, you can bring your back foot forward, as this will keep the board flat. Push for your toes to flatten the board from one side to the other and sail slightly off the wind. Okay, let's look at the key points of stance a bit closer. Choose the right sailing line, upwind for control and downwind for more speed. These only need to be small changes in direction to make a difference. The head is outboard and looking forward. The rig is away with the shoulders outboard, and the elbows are pulling down to flatten the board. The front leg is straight with the back leg bent, absorbing chop. Lastly, the front shoulder is dropped, which is common for most sports. Do all of these and you will go faster, and speed is your friend. Ultimately, you do not want to look like this, as I think you will agree he is not looking fast. So, what do you do when it starts getting windy and bumpy? Well, this is where not only your tuning is important, but also how low will you go. Concentrate on all your key points in your stance, but just do it all from a lower position. Really drop the elbows and pull down on the boom as you lock the board down with straight front leg. The leading shoulder is really dropped and your head is way below boom height. The rear hip is, as always, down, back and out. Under excessive power, you would swing forwards to really pull down on the boom and choose a more upwind line. The rail of the board is locked down by pulling up on your toes and digging down through your heels. When trying to cope with chop, it is really important to bend that back leg and stay outboards to keep the sail sheeted in. Sometimes it's not all action, and windsurfing relies heavily on your ability to sail and keep upwind. So we're now going to get you upwind in all conditions. If you're not planing, then it's best to head upwind, or chug upwind as I call it. This means you can spot gusts and are upwind ready to bear away when the wind increases. The actual technique is to step forward and out. In in order to sink the rail. Keep the sail open as you are not using sail power, but using the rail of the board as resistance. The further forward and out your feet are, the more you go upwind. Best tip of all, where you look is where you go, so look upwind. From your upwind position, when you see a gust, step back and get low to bear away and push the board onto the plane and then go into your accelerator. Let's look at how we get upwind now when it's windy. Now that you're sailing faster, the fin is lifting more, so this will assist you in really flying upwind. From sailing across the wind, look upwind and begin to bring the rig back as your body moves forward. Your body will be low and the leading shoulder dropped. As the rig moves back, the body balances this by moving forward. The front knee will bend and the back leg will straighten. In order to give the rig more power and not to oversheet, it is best to have your hands together and close to the lines. Resist the lift from the fin by pushing down through your heels. The more you look upwind and lean forward, the higher you go upwind. A great way to improve this and to open up your shoulders is to sail upwind one-handed and drop the front hand. This will bring your hips forward and low and helps you keep the rig back and away. In fact, sailing one-handed is an excellent way to improve your overall sailing. By dropping your front hand, it really gets you committed to the harness and controlling power by dropping your hips. Your legs will naturally have to lock the board down, and yes, you will need those long harness lines. By dropping your backhand and dragging it in the water, this also makes you low and therefore you will go. The bent back leg keeps the board flat and commits weight to the harness. Go on, get into it. You know you want to. With all this newfound speed, you might suffer some of the dreaded spin out, where the tail loses grip and you slide sideways. Great at first experience, but not efficient and is often the result of a poor body position. The problem comes when the tail leaves the water and the back leg straightens. This pushes the fin downwind where it can't grip. In order to fix this, we have to get our grip back. So lean forward and down whilst aggressively pulling the tail upwind. Pull through the back foot and push through the front foot. So, keep the back leg bent with the hips out and down. Let's look at what you have achieved. You are planing earlier by getting low with the rig forward and the board flat. Once planing, you are really accelerating. With all that hard work getting planing and going fast, you are also keeping planing. You now know all the key points to get your stance faster and in control. In all winds, you are now most definitely the upwind master. You're also now sailing one-handed in order to improve your stance. And, should it all go wrong, you can recover from spin out and quickly. Get planing, go fast, fly upwind and enjoy.
In the jibe, we have covered turning around downwind. Now we'll look at going the other way into the wind with the tack. You won't have the same sensation of carving at full speed, but it's still great fun and also an efficient way of turning. Do you agree, Jim?
Without a doubt. It's quick and saves you from losing distance downwind. It will also enable you to use your upwind advantage in getting planing and going for those carve jibes. We are going to examine how to build up our skills in the tack on bigger boards and lighter winds. And then transfer all these tips into nailing the full speed tack
in planing conditions. This chapter is going to get your tacks totally tuned. The basic tacking skills you will acquire in lighter winds will also apply to tacking in stronger winds. We will be breaking the move down into its key parts. These are the entrance, transition, and the exit. We will also be looking more closely at the finer points of the upper and lower body are doing throughout the move. As you understand the tack more, we'll be giving you more tips to really polish your tacking. Let's look at an overview of the tack. From your sailing position, head upwind and put your front hand on the mast. Look upwind and bring the rig back and place your front foot in front of the mast. As the rig moves back, bring your body forward. When through the wind, release your backhand and reach around to the new side of the boom as your back foot steps up. Bring the rig forward and across you as you look forward and step back. Get down low and bear the board away. In order to help you get more dynamic, we are going to get into some aggressive steering. This will really help your entrance and exit of the tack. In light winds and with a big board, steer the board upwind and downwind. Firstly, look where you want to go. As the rig moves back, your body moves forward for going upwind, and as the rig goes forward, your body moves back to turn downwind. Try to get really dynamic and use your feet to steer the board. Remember to move your hands together and apart on the boom. Let's focus on the entrance to the tack now. As you head upwind, slide your front hand up the boom and then onto the mast. Look upwind, and as the rig goes back, swing your hips and shoulders forward whilst getting down. Move both feet up the board and wrap your front foot right around the mast foot. The feet scissor the board up and through the wind, with the front foot pulling and the back foot pushing. Swing those hips forward. Once you are through the wind, you come into the transition part of the tack. Look back and release your backhand and reach around to the new side of the boom as you step up. The new front hand begins to draw the rig forwards and across you as you look forward and begin to step back. With your hips shifting forward, the weight comes over the front foot, and the back foot can then come forwards of your old front foot, and you finish off the move as a pivot. You can practice your footwork anywhere, and it's really good to get light on your feet and dynamic. Good footwork means great tacks. As you go into the exit phase, it is really important to look forwards. This will help you draw the rig forwards and across you on an extended front arm as your body moves back and down. Get the feet wide apart to scissor the board and slide your backhand down the boom to bear away. The front foot pushes the nose off the wind whilst the back foot pulls the tail upwind. As you move into planing conditions and smaller boards, all that changes is that your entrance begins with planing and carving upwind, and then all the skills you have in lighter winds are still utilised. Looking where you want to go, slick footwork and scissoring the board on the exit. From hooked in and blasting, place your front hand onto the mast and then unhook. It's windier, so make sure you are low. Come out of the straps and carve on your heel side whilst looking forwards. Keep your front arm extended to get the rig away. Step up as the board slows down. Go for the transition at head to wind and then exit from a low body position. Let's look at the footwork in the transition phase of attack. Fast footwork comes from getting the weight off the back foot by swinging those hips forward whilst creating space with the rig back. The back foot can then step up and pivot. A great way to remember what to do in the transition phase is to think release, reach, and pivot. At head to wind, release the back hand and reach around the new side of the boom. This will make your footwork and the pivot that much sweeter. All of this is much improved by looking where you want to go. In order to polish up those exits, really focus on looking forward as soon as you're around the new side. This will help you bring the rig forwards as your body moves back. As you draw the rig across you, get both hands down the boom so as to twist the rig and bear away more effectively. Once you are back across the wind, you can then get planing from your low body position and bring your hands back together. The board can be more aggressively steered downwind by getting the new back foot a long way back down the board. With wide feet, you can then push through the heel of the front foot and pull with the toes of the back foot, and therefore scissor the board faster. Remember to get low, and then you are good to go. The method for tacking in this chapter is covered using the mast. However, some people go boom to boom, so let's take a look at this. In the entrance, you slide your front hand right up to the mast, but it stays on the boom. Then the head looks upwind as the rig comes back and the body and feet move forward. At head to wind, it's release, reach and pivot the feet. The old backhand reaches over the front hand for the new side of the boom. Look forwards and draw the rig forwards as you move back. That's all for the tack. please do get out there and practice, as what you do in light winds will really help you get it in strong winds. The tack is used by all sailors from beginner to winner.
Before we go through the jibe, we'll give you some training tips that will greatly improve your success in jibing. The jibe has lots of stages, and by building skills in each of these areas, you have way more chance of learning and improving your jibing quickly. Jim, tell us some more.
The jibe has a very clear beginning, middle and end. This chapter will improve your skills throughout all these stages. You'll be entering your jibes with more control, smoothing out your footwork and seriously enhancing your exit. Let's get ready to jibe!
Many of the skills we require in the carve jibe can be acquired in lighter wind conditions, and these can be called upon when learning and improving the carve jibe. We will firstly be looking at the exit, which will require you to be a clue first master. Then we will take your clue first skills and use them in the foundation jibe. This jibe will really assist you in your quest for the carve jibe, and in the lighter winds it's easier to make steady improvements. The carve jibe needs a fast and controlled entrance, so we are really going to work hard on improving this. After all this, you will be ready to jibe. The ability to sail clue first means that we have options at the end of the jibe. We can pause to get control or speed, or rotate the rig. By coming out of jibes clue first, the feet have time to change and then the rig is changed. Only one action is happening at a time. The exit skills can be learned in light winds and can be drawn upon in strong winds. Here are some tips for clue first sailing. As for many moves, look forward. The sail will be unstable, so you need to take a wide grip on the boom with your hands towards the clue. Pull in on your clue hand to gain more control. Take a wide stance and get low, so you can steer the board and resist the sail's power. The mast needs to be upright with your body outboard over a bent back leg. The easiest way to learn clue first sailing is to get into it from a beach start. Best conditions for this are light winds and cross the cross on shore in direction with a small sail and a floaty board. Get your kit in position. With a wide grip, hold the kit on a downwind course and position yourself upwind at the back of the board. The back foot goes on and pulls in as the arms extend. The hands can come together here to get the rig more upright. Eat the mast foot as you get up and away. Make sure you resume a wide grip on the boom to get clue first control. The rig will be forward and your body back as you look forwards. Maintain a course off the wind. Slide the front hand to the mast, rotate the rig and keep looking forwards. The next move to practice is the dry jibe. This is the drill to nail your jibes, improve your clue first rig control and enhance rotating the sail. Light winds are best for this. From your beach start position, take a wide grip on the boom and turn the board downwind, looking where you want to go. Start to look out of your turn at the clue and walk around the back of the board. Control the rig clue first with your body low over a bent back leg and keeping that wide grip on the boom. Slide your front hand to the mast, reach under with the old backhand, which will then guide the rig forwards. Look forward throughout. Repeat the drill in the new direction and then carry on. Note that the rig is rotated in a circular motion and sliding that front hand up to the mast greatly assists this. The rig is kept away throughout. As the rig is guided back, the hips move forward, and as the rig comes forward, the hips move back. In order to get you ready for the foundation jibe, let's recap on steering. In light winds, aim to turn up and downwind with really smooth and fast changes in direction. The tips of turning downwind are: get the rig forwards and across and the body back. Move your back foot back. Place your backhand down the boom and twist the rig, sheeting in with the back arm. Push with the front foot and pull with the back foot. Once downwind, turn upwind by bringing the hands together, looking upwind, bringing the rig back and the body and the feet forward. Now that you're in the best shape for jibing, let's get into the foundation jibe. From here, you'll be really building towards nailing those carved jibes, as the footwork, balance and exit are very similar in both these jibes. Move your backhand down the boom. Back foot goes across and back as you drop your body weight. Drop the hips down and to the inside as the mast moves to the outside. Keep the backhand sheeted in as you twist the rig. Look out of the turn and get weight over the back foot. Switch the feet. Step forward and keep low with the weight over the bent back leg. Control the rig clue first. Slide front hand to mast and release backhand. Guide the rig back and keep looking forwards. The old backhand reaches for the boom on the new side. Rig comes forward and body moves back. If you look more closely at the foot change, you can see that it's all about taking the weight onto the back foot first, and then you can move or switch the other foot. If you look out the turn and sink the rear hip, then the back foot has all the weight on it, so the front foot can move. Then, as you step forward, all the weight is on the new back foot. You can use different ways of pivoting just so long as the weight stays on the back foot and the inside rail. Great footwork means sweet jibes. You can practice this anywhere and it will really help you. We have been focusing on light wind training so far, so now let's get into what you can practice in windy conditions. One of the key areas in the calf jibe is the entrance, as this is where you can pick up some real speed which you can take into and through the turn. So this section is going to get you unhooking and sailing fast, ready to jibe. Here are the key tips. Slide your back hand down the boom so you keep speed unhooked. Are ready to carve hard and in the best position to control the clue first exit. Get down low after unhooking to keep the sail powered and board flat. This drill is just to practice sailing along across the wind or slightly downwind. So here we go. Sailing fast across the wind. Slide your backhand right down the boom. Yes, that far. Sink down into the harness. Pull boom in to unhook and then drop right down. Extend the arms, look forward and bend the back leg to flatten the board. Pull down on the boom. Go downwind for more speed. The people I coach, once they have this skill of keeping speed unhooked, they are so close to the jibe they can smell it. Keep practicing all these skills and then you'll be fully prepared and ready to carve jibe.
Now we are going to look at the key tips for foot steering. With a planing board, foot steering is a more efficient and controllable way of maneuvering the board. Hey Jim, can you give us some more feedback on foot steering?
Well, Lars, if you master foot steering, you're actually one step closer towards a jibe, as this move requires us to carve a smooth arc downwind. It will also allow us to work towards perhaps the best part of our sport, wave riding.
Foot steering and working towards wave riding can sometimes be left till quite late on in the sport. However, if you do this, you are missing out. It is a fundamental skill, and the earlier you get into it, the quicker your windsurfing will progress. We will be presenting the light wind skills, and then whilst planing, you will see how to progress to foot steering whilst hooked in. Lastly, we will examine rail-to-rail foot steering. The basic fundamentals can be learned quite early on. On a big board in light winds, you are already learning the key skills involved in foot steering. Looking where you want to go. As you head upwind, you look upwind. This turns your head, hips and shoulders. As you turn downwind, the same applies. You also learn that you have to balance the rig's movements. As the rig comes forward and across to turn downwind, you have to move back so as not to be pulled forward. With your body back, you're also able to scissor the board. When the rig goes back, you have to move your body forwards in order to keep the board flat. This is of vital importance in foot steering. Lastly, you will start to surf the boom. The hands come apart to twist the rig to bear away. The hands then come together to go upwind, as is common practice for upwind sailing. So, get into some dynamic steering. Let's kick off our planing foot steering by doing it hooked in first. But before we go on, please remember that in order to foot steer you need your equipment to be tuned right, so please check out the tuning chapter before taking to the water. During your first attempts at foot steering, you are aiming to make gradually increasing changes in direction. From carving on your heel side upwind to carving on your toe side downwind. Your hips should balance the rig's position. Let's look at the technique. Look upwind and drop down, and then gradually weight your heels. Lean forwards, out and down to flatten the board. Sail upwind. Slide backhand down and sink down low. Bring the rig forwards and across you. From here, you can push the board off the wind through the front foot and your toe side. After the initial steer, your hips will come more forward and over the board as you start to come over the rail. Keep the rig away throughout. Work towards bigger changes in direction and keep low to resist the sail's power whilst hooked in. This will give you a feel of the subtle changes in pressure and how your head, hips and hands respond. Carve through bent ankles and knees. Now, let's look at the more radical changes in direction that sailing unhooked can afford you. It is advisable to first get skilled at sailing unhooked, and then you will be able to keep more speed. We look at this in more depth in the GI preparation chapter. Let's look at an overview for rail-to-rail foot steering. Slide the backhand down the boom, unhook and hang. Scissor the board off the wind. Extend the rig forwards as you come over the front foot and look forwards. Carve hard through the toes, ankles and knees. As you come to downwind, begin to flatten the board. Transfer your weight over to the heel side and bring your hands together. Look upwind and drop down, and then carve hard off of your heel side, aiming to throw some spray. As you're carving upwind, really get down low and swing forwards whilst the rig goes back. When foot steering, there are a lot of actions going on at the same time. Therefore, consider just trying to work on one area at a time. The main areas where it's all going on are the head, hand and the hips. The head is looking where you want the board to go. This turns the shoulders and the hips, and the board will then scissor. Look downwind and you go downwind. You can see how the head changing direction to look upwind both initiates and assists the whole heel side turn.
You are surfing the water, but your hands are most definitely surfing the boom. Your hand position on the boom has a huge effect on how much power the rig can give back to you. With the hands apart, you can sheet in and open the sail in the downwind carve. Then, as you head upwind, the hands come together in order not to oversheet the sail, and so you can get the rig further back. The hips are balancing the sail's position. With the sail coming forward, you are coming over with the rig, but the hips are relatively back, though they are over your tow side rail. It's the forward rig that allows you to get into this position. Crucial in carving upwind is the hips coming forward as the sail moves back. Without this, the tail would sink and a big loss in speed would result. So get out there and get foot steering, because wave riding and carve jibes is where you are heading. As you improve in this, you'll keep more speed and throw more spray.
Now to the move that everybody wants, the jibe. This is a big stepping stone for windsurfers, and once you can pull this one off, you have begun to conquer the world of shortboarding. Jim, my big bald friend, enlighten us.
Thanks, Lars, for mentioning my aerodynamic head shape. Nice one. To get you through the jibe, we'll be building on the skills we covered in jibe preparation, and we'll also be breaking the move down to simple and achievable goals. Each stage of the jibe will be linked in order to ensure you nail those jibes. In our quest to bring you from beginner carve jiber to winner carve jiber, we'll be looking at the first jibes you'll try and then taking you into all you need to know about the step jibe. We will look at the key stages in detail and show you how to develop your jibes. Your understanding of how to plane out in all wind strengths is going to be enhanced as we provide you with a whole host of useful tips. Let's get down to business. In jibe preparation, we gave you the first taste of sailing fast unhooked, so let's build on that and also utilise your foot steering skills. Your key entrance goal is to be unhooked on extended arms and going full speed with a flat board. So concentrate on bending the back leg and pulling down on the boom. To do this, you will have to be below boom height, so get low. We are going to let you into a little secret. In order to have speed through the carve, you must sail the first third of the turn. You will have experienced the sensation of downwind carving speed from your foot steering exploits. So, from your unhooked position, push the nose off the wind by scissoring the feet as you hang off the boom. You can choose to take your back foot out and place it by the back strap, either before you go downwind or as you're going downwind and just before carving. All this speed gets the board going really fast and the sail weightless. What are you going to do with all that speed? Well, you're going to go for your first time jibes. This is a developmental jibe where you release the rig early and look to concentrate on just turning the board using your carving foot pressure. The aim is to carve the board, release the rig, get your feet round and try to collect the rig in the other direction. We'll get it looking smoother later. Here is the routine. The hands are spread and the front hand comes slightly forward for this jibe. Fast low entrance and sail off the wind. Before you come over and carve, get your foot over to the inside rail. Look into the turn. Pull in with the back arm and let the rig pull you over into the turn. Hold the rig forward and drop your hips low over your back foot. Lean into it, bending at the ankles, and try to gradually push harder with the back foot. Let go with the back hand and look out of the turn. Turn the board by pushing through the back foot. Switch your feet round and step forward. Rotate the rig and look forwards. Collect the sail and off you go. Build this jibe up and concentrate on 1 or 2 points at a time. You can break it down into head and hips. The head is looking into the turn, then out, and lastly looking forwards. The hips are outboard, then over the inside rail, and then back and out again at the end. They are low throughout most of the turn. Let's examine how to take your first time jibes further into controlled step jibes. By now you have excellent entrance speed. We have talked a lot about where to look and dropping the hips. Now let's talk about the hands. This is of vital importance. The back hand is all the way down the boom, and the front hand is in its most powerful position, and that is close to the front harness line. The hands are here for a couple of reasons. You can keep speed whilst unhooked. The sail can be opened mid-jibe. They are in the best position to control the sail at the exit. Now, let's improve that middle part of the turn. After your awesome entrance, work on coming over into the turn with bent ankles and the rig right forward. Then, you can drop your hips and carve through the back foot. The back foot pressure is constant but increasing. Keep the arc wide, as all the entrance speed will give you time to go through the gears. As you are approaching dead downwind, you are looking out of the turn to open the sail. The rig will move to the outside as your hips are low to the inside. The rig is away with extended arms and you are hanging beneath it. It can be helpful here to spread your back hand even further down the boom. Let's look at the next stage, the exit. The weight is now on your heel side as the sail opens, with your weight over the bent back leg and the rig forward. With all your weight on the carving back foot, the front foot can switch across and then you can step forward. It's time to use those clue first control skills here, as this will give you time to settle and get ready to rotate the rig. The advantage of a long clue first exit is you can stay off the wind and keep speed because you are not disturbing the board or rig. However, you must be low and have your hands wide. With clue first skills, you have an option. If the wind is light or you're coming out full speed, you can rotate the rig after only a brief pause at clue first. Ultimately, it is up to you, and you must base your decision on judgment and experience. Consider many of the factors: power, speed, water state, board size, and wind strength. If you have skills in both releasing the rig early and holding it clue first, then you are closer to those planing jibes. You will be getting tired after all that clue first action, so let's rotate the rig.
Keep looking forwards and slide the front hand up to the mast. Guide the rig back after releasing the back hand. Keep the hips low and outboard to keep the board turning from downwind to across the wind. The new front hand collects the boom on the new side. The hips come back as the front hand draws the rig forward. I might have forgotten to say, keep looking forward, get down low, and off you go. Now that you're getting more consistent in your jibing, let's get you in more control for stronger winds and overpowered conditions. The main tip here is to go upwind first before you enter the jibe. As you do this, the board becomes more controllable, so preparation is easier and then it's all the usual action. When it is windy and bumpy, the board is much more lively and therefore you must be really low throughout and get the rig forward and pull down on the boom. As you start sailing smaller boards, they will be more controllable in windy jibes, but they are also more excitable, and the same tips apply. As your carving progresses, you are aiming to come more over the rail to carve harder. This is achieved by dropping the sail more to the water to pull you into the turn. As you do this, the sail will sheet in more and the body drops over the rail. If you are looking to really get rad in your jibes, then as well as dropping the sail into the turn, the rig can be raked back more. And to balance this, the body, as always, moves forward. Please note, this requires a lot of speed and a wide arc. Throughout this chapter, you will have gained a perspective as to just how wide jibes need to be. And these are the advantages. By going faster, you can take a wider arc, which gives you more time to go through all the techniques required. You are more likely to keep speed and come out planing. All your new skills have put you in a position to achieve this board speed and wide arc. You are planing earlier, sailing faster and flying upwind, and your reward for this is the best opportunity to achieve great jibes. When you have consistent and fast jibes, you can then look to tighten your arc and work on keeping speed. There are ways to boost your jibing, which will also help you move towards carving freestyle. These are one-handed laydowns and one-handed jibes. Here are the tips for the one-handed laydown. Prepare to carve, and just before you drop over into turn, bring your back hand up to the harness line. As you come over the rail, the sail drops right into turn. Carve hard, and with the rig going back, shift your body forwards to keep the board flat. The front hand goes back on, spread your hands and open the sail. Go into exit mode. This move will make you commit more in the carve and give you a feeling for carving 360s. Going for a hand drag in the middle of the jibe will get you carving in a more dynamic way and is also good fun. The skills it will build are keeping the rig forward and dropping your body weight lower. The move is finished off. As for a step jibe, but with no clue first action, just the foot change. So get out there and get into it. If the wind is lighter, then we have some tips in order to keep speed. Seeing as your board speed is similar to the wind speed, it's best not to sail too far downwind before you carve, or your sail will lose too much power. The arc will be narrower because you have less momentum and also need to get the power back on, which will be in a new direction across the wind. Open your sail earlier so as not to get backwinded. The step is a lot further forward. With a smooth rig rotation, you are aiming to use any momentum you have in getting planing. So get down and get that board planing. The best way to get a planing jibe is as for the light wind jibe. Take your momentum from the jibe and utilise it. The quicker you get down low and push the board off the wind with your hands together, the faster you get planing. This will result in the seam between a moving jibe and a planing jibe becoming thinner until it is not there. I'm going to leave you with the most straightforward tips for the jibe, and these are the fundamentals. Look where you want to go. Look forwards in preparation. Look into the turn as you carve. Look out of the turn at downwind and look forwards at your exit. Keep the rig away. The front arm is extended into and throughout the carve. You then hang off the boom on extended arms in the exit. Thanks for your attention, and I wish you all the best on the carve jibe journey, and I really hope all this helps.
Now let's take a look at a maneuver that doesn't have much practical use, but is all out fun, and that is jumping. Over to you, Jim.
In this chapter, we're looking at all you need to know for takeoff, in-flight control and landing. Fasten your seatbelts and let's get airborne.
This is for sure one of the best parts of windsurfing. Getting your first jump and then getting fully confident in the air are both very memorable. It can be done before many other moves, as once you have good speed in the straps on smaller boards, you are fully ready for some aerial action. So, we are going to get you through your first jumps and then get you controlling more height. Lastly, of course, we will give you a nice soft landing. Once again, your tuning is important here. Go for a relatively high boom and generous foot straps that are set inboard. This will give you great pop and more control in the air. In order to get airborne, you will need a bit of a ramp, so you will need to analyse the water for bumps, chop and ramps. You will also be scanning for gusts, as a bit of extra power always helps. While sailing along, look ahead and upwind for troughs while searching for your chosen ramp. The ideal wind direction is side shore with ramps coming towards you, but you can also get some good height off wind chop coming side on to you. A shift in the wind to take you more nose onto the ramp will also give you an excellent boost. Your takeoff will be slightly into the wind and with the tail of the board in the trough. This brings the nose up and feeds air under the board. Now you know what you're looking for, we will be looking at the technique to get some air time.
Before you go for it, remember that speed is your friend. More speed means more height. So although you take off into the wind, your sailing line should not be upwind for too long. Spot the ramp and get set up with your body inboards and low. Bend the back leg. Face up the board to weight the tail and bring the nose up. Push down aggressively through the toes of the back foot as you bring the rig back towards you. Pull the front leg up and forward as you simultaneously pull up and forward on the boom. Bend your back leg to pull the tail up. Drop your hips and bend your arms. Hold the tock and look forward to spot your landing. Open the sail to drop the tail. Extend the back leg for a tail first landing, but land with your legs flexed. Open the sail and keep speed. There's a lot going on here, and as you try more jumps, your timing and coordination of the actions will improve. If you aim to jump twice on every reach, then you will get lots of practice. We can present these tips in a very simple form. Push, pull, pull, pull. Push your tail down, pull up on the boom and pull up on your front leg, and then pull the tail up. Landing. Well, you're always going to come down. When looking to get more height, there are many factors involved. Speed, height of ramp, wind direction, kit. But really, it all comes down to effort. The more you put in, the more you get out. If you sink down and push hard through the back foot and then pull up hard on the front hand and front leg, you will get higher. The takeoff is into the wind, but the landing is definitely off the wind. This means the thing can grip and so you get no spin out. You will also have the ability to accelerate again after landing. In order to get the board off the wind, you need to scissor your legs. Pulling the tail up assists the front leg to be in position to push the nose off. As you move from small ramps and chop to waves, it's just about getting used to the timing. You always push your tail down in the trough or bottom of the wave, but now you spring off your toes as your board reaches the top of the wave. With all this height you are getting, you need to be equipped with some in-flight control. Whilst airborne, you actually need to sail the board through the air. In order to keep the wind blowing under the board, you need to point your toes and keep the windward rail high. Bending the back leg and pulling the heel right into the bottom assists you in doing this. The rig is there for propulsion, so direct this upwards. With the hips dropped, you bend your arms to pull the rig over your head. This will drive the nose up. So, hold this nice compact stance in the air. Now that you are compact in the air, you are in a great shape for landing. Try to hold your in-flight stance until just before landing. Sheeting out and dropping the back leg gets you ready for a soft tail-first landing. Bend your legs to absorb. You will need to extend the arms to open the sail landing as you have slowed down. Scissor the board slightly off the wind and flatten the board through toe side pressure. All this aerial action may inspire you towards more aerial antics. There are all kinds of jumps out there and are all great fun. Go and look up some air miles now and enjoy your flight.
Now we've been through the basic jibe, tack and jump. Let's spice it up with some harder variations. Jim, what are we going to look at?
We'll give you the lowdown on the helicopter tack, the duck jibe and the one-handed jump. All freestyle moves that will bring new elements to your sailing. The heli-tack is a very useful move as it can be performed in all wind strengths and has an excellent skills transference to many other moves. It's great in light winds and is often said to be easier than a regular tack when the board is going slow. The move retains power in the sail and keeps the nose afloat, which is very handy on sinkier boards. The move can be broken down to 3 phases: through the wind, front to sail control, rig transition. We will be looking at these phases in light winds first and then powered up conditions. We will kick off with getting into front to sail. This is a skill in its own right and will help you with tacks, carving 360s and all manner of freestyle moves, just like this one. It's best to practice this in light winds and with a floaty board and small sail. The first phase is getting the board through head to wind. This is where you will call on your tacking skills. Place your front foot in front of the mast foot. Look forward. The rig goes back and the body forward to head into the wind. Your feet should be quite spread and hands together on the boom. Bring the board through the wind using your feet. The front foot pulls and the back foot pushes. Once through the wind, the rig comes across with the front arm extended. Look forward. The rig is back and down and the body is forward. Your weight is on the tow side. Sail along, controlling the power. Take the rig back and wait the back foot to come back through the wind. Push your nose through the wind and look forward. Sheet in when back on your original direction. By doing this drill, you will get control and this will give you a point of stability in the heli-tack. You will learn how to control the power and how to steer the board. So here are some tips for this. To steer into the wind, you bring the rig back and weight the back foot. More weight on your toes also takes you upwind. Upwind, the sail is always less powerful, so this line gives you more control as well. If you're on a course too far upwind and want to steer downwind, then weight the front foot more and open the sail. For more power, bring the rig more upright and not so low to the water. Once you have front to sail control, it's time to do the full move in light winds. Let's check out an overview now. Take the board through the wind and get into front to sail. Get stable front to sail. This slows the move down and puts you in control. When you are ready to rotate, slide your backhand well down the boom. Draw the backhand in. Start to extend the rig towards the nose for a straight front arm. The hips will move back to balance this. The rig is going around the nose as the feet change. Switch the feet like in a jibe. Look forward. You can pause at clue first or continue to flip the rig. As the rig goes back in the rotation, the front hand will slide to the mast. Rotate the rig and bring it back forward. The rig rotation around the nose and the footwork relies heavily on your foundation jibe and clue first rotation skills. These are covered in the jibe preparation chapter. With your backhand down the boom, you have a choice, and you can then call on your clue first skills. As we take the move into stronger winds, we will call on the same skills, just that we are dealing with a lot more power. The extra power requires you to really ensure you have a good technique throughout all the move, as it all happens a lot faster. By pausing at each stage, you will have more time. Follow your fundamental skills closely. Let's look at the tips in powered up conditions. Unhook and carve into the wind. At head to wind, step forward and get your weight on the toes. Extend the front arm to feel the sail. You will need to lean into the sail more through bent ankles. Pause at front to sail and have your feet wide apart for control. Slide your backhand well down the boom. This bears the board away and eases the rig rotation. The back arm must pull in so as not to power up the sail. Just before you rotate the rig, bring your back foot forward. Slide the rig forward and get your weight over the back foot, ready to pivot your feet just as in a jibe. The rig goes round the front in a big circle, heading to its destination, the back of the board. As it goes back, the front hand slides down to assist you in rotating the rig. Bring the sail forwards and get down. The more you practice and utilise your light wind heli-tack skills, the better it will be in stronger winds. You can control the rig and will have more time and control if you focus on two actions. Look where you want to go through the entire move. This has been said many times and is true for all moves, but in the heli-tack it is the crux of the move. Keep the rig away. This gives you time and control. You will lose both of these if you push on the sail. So do not push on the sail excessively with the back hand. You are often lightly pushing on it, but always combining this with a straight front arm. It's the front arm that controls the rig. The duck jibe is a great carving move for many reasons. Firstly, they feel fantastic, and when done very well they look very cool, and they develop your carving skills. You will require a good planing stance and only need to be carving about 50% of your jibes. So do not delay. Get into your duck jibes, as they are often your first planing jibes. So, how can we get into them? You will need all the setup and entrance skills from the carve jibe and the required dash of speed. Then comes the ducking bit. This can be learnt in light winds and very early on in the sport. I teach my beginners and improvers the light wind techniques we are just about to look at, so let's get into it. The best way to learn the ducking of the rig is the sail 360. You duck the rig to clew first and then rotate the sail. This is best learnt in light winds with a small sail and a floaty board. Here is how you do it. Take a wide, stable stance. Slide your backhand down the boom. Tip the rig towards the nose of the board. Let go with the front hand. Cross your front hand over to the back of the boom. Lean back as the rig gets heavy here. Whip the sail back past your ear. Catch the sail on the new side with your front hand past the front harness line. Hold it clew first. Rotate the rig. Look forwards throughout. This is exactly the same as the rig duck in carving winds, so do it and get very good at it. Let's develop this to pausing at clew first and then jibing out of it to the new direction. After ducking the sail on the broad reach, get control of the rig clew first. Then look to downwind, which is out of the turn. Scissor the board downwind using your feet. The rig stays open and will move to the outside. Your hips go low and to the inside. With your weight changed, you can switch the feet and step forward. Look forward and open the sail. Perform this both ways and get more aggressive with the rig ducking. Now that you are the sail ducking master, let's put some speed and wind into this and examine the carving duck jibe. Backhand back, unhook, hang and then bear away. The rig will go weightless from all the speed. Come over into your carving position. While still in the board reach, go for the duck. Your front hand releases and crosses over to the back of the boom. The backhand tilts the rig towards the nose of the board. Whip the rig back past your ear. Look out of a turn and sink down. Collect the boom on the new side. Keep the sail open as you concentrate on carving the board. Look forwards and switch your feet when in the new direction. Let's examine more closely what is happening with the upper body. The best tip for this move is to really follow your head and look out of the turn. The head looks downwind going in. Then, when the rig is weightless on a broad reach, it takes the move's name as its inspiration and actually ducks under the boom. This gets your weight low and keeps the board carving from broad reach to broad reach. Once the rig is collected, the head looks forward to maintain a flat board and keep speed. The hands are wide going in and then sheet in to commit you to the carve. Once the front hand releases, the back hand tilts the rig to the nose. This stops the mast going into the water and you from going out the front door. The new front hand goes right up the boom and then the back hand joins it. Whilst you are still on a downwind course, the hands keep the sail open. As you come into the exit, the hands come together to get you planing quicker. As with most moves, we have looked at the head and the hands. So now, let's look at the hips and lower body's actions in this move. It's a full speed move, so the hips, knees and ankles are driving hard into the carve prior to the duck. On ducking the sail, the hips stay low so as to keep the carve going. As you head towards downwind, the sail moves to the outside, so the hips respond by going low and to the inside. With the hips weighted, you can pivot your feet with ease, as in a step jibe foot change. During the exit, your hips drop to work towards keeping or acquiring speed. Once again, the arc is wide. More speed gives you a wider arc, which gives you more time to duck and then gradually finish the carve off. When you become more consistent at this move, then you can develop your skill by going tighter. In the foot change, you have an option of going into the front strap or stepping forward. Do what feels comfortable for you. Our tip is that if you have full speed, try going into the front strap. Or, if you have less speed or power, then go for stepping forward, as in a step jibe. Enjoy your duck jibes and please perform them both ways so you can shine in all wind directions. Once you are confident in the air, a great way to extend your repertoire of moves is to get into some different variations of the regular jump. The one-handed jump, whilst looking pretty cool, also really advances your overall jumping skills. One-handed jumping has several benefits. Firstly, it enhances your takeoff as you're developing pop mainly from the legs, as the arms are less active. This will develop your coordination and timing, and therefore your regular jumps will also see progress. The other benefit is that you are forced to drop your hips in the air for fear of the impending doom. Having lower hips means the rig comes over your head and therefore directs you skywards. Let's look at the technique tips for takeoff. Just as in the normal jump, you have to bring the nose up in the setup. So sheet out slightly and face your body forwards. The body moves more inboard and the bat leg bends. The bat leg pushes down in the trough to bring the nose up and initiate the takeoff. Now the legs have to work hard to release the board. The front leg really lifts up and forward and the bat leg pulls the tail up. As soon as you are airborne, you must drop your hips back to keep the hips committed to the lines. The back leg brings the tail up and the nose gets scissored off by a straight front leg. Once airborne, you can choose to drop your front or back hand. If you drop your front hand, then this gets you pointing the toes. This is great for getting wind under the board and therefore longer and higher jumps. By dropping the back hand, this often gets the tail up, which is again a recommended technique for jumping. Try both, but decide which before you fly. Let's take the front hand drop first. Once airborne, tuck up with your legs and bring the rigging close. Release the front hand and drop your hips to commit to the harness. Look forwards to spot your landing and you can return hand to boom just before touchdown or just after if you are comfy with all of this. Ensure your back arm sheets out for the landing and that your hips are low on contact with the water. You can do your hooked in jumps both ways, in and out, but it's often best to do the tail grab jumps on the way in. Of course, you should be proficient at both jumps heading in both directions. The technique for dropping the backhand is the same in setup and takeoff. However, once airborne, you are looking to get your hips further back so you can get your hand onto the tail of the board. So drop those hips and reach down for that tail. The front arm needs to bring the boom in towards you to open the sail in preparation for a tail first landing. Spot your landing throughout the whole move. As your confidence grows, you'll be seeking more height. With your timing improved and plenty of effort in the pushing and pulling of the legs, you will reap the rewards. The added extra will come from our good friend speed. Once you've spotted your ramp, then you can bear off to get up some speed and then just before takeoff, head upwind to meet the steepest part of the ramp. Get up there. Enjoy your one-handed jumps and there'll be no hands next. Then one-legged jumps, whatever. The sky is the limit.
So far in the film we showed you how to do it. Now we want to show you how not to do it, followed by the right way. Jim, this is something you're used to through coaching.
That's right, Lars. We'll show you some of the most common mistakes and then pinpoint where the problems come from, and then we'll show you how to correct those problems. With a wide grip on the boom, the rig is less powerful. And Louise here has decreased the sail's available power. Bring the hands together to keep the rig away. It's windy, and if you are upright with wide hands, the tail will sink and control problems will follow. You must get low to go with your arms together and sink down over a bent back leg. With 2 feet on the board and looking downwind, the board bears away too much and the result is plain to see. Get in the sweet spot and look upwind with only one leg on the board. In light winds, with your hands spread and both feet on the board, you'll drift downwind. Bring the hands together and get more leverage by dropping your front leg and it's up and away. With your hands spread and the rig low, it is easy to lose power in light winds. Get your hands together with arms extended to keep the rig flying. Nice entrance, and then as I transition around the front, the rig comes in very close to me. Keep the rig away as you look forward to draw the rig forward, with the body moving back. In my entrance, I have come in too close to the rig and it's all looking very cramped. Keep the mast away on an extended front arm and the body low. The carve jibe can have a multitude of sins, but in this and many cases it's a matter of poor preparation. Come on Jem, get down low and get the rig away in the preparation. Poor preparation here has hindered entrance speed, and then the rig and body are both back with a bent front arm. Great preparation is always necessary, and the rig should be forward with the body back. After poor preparation, the major problem here is the rig being too close. Keep the rig away all through the carve. A catalogue of disasters here. I come in too upright and go for the duck too late. Get low on the entrance and duck early. I have similar faults here, but I'm also too high up in the carve. Look out of the turn and sink your hips to carve hard.
Windsurfing can be dangerous at times, especially if you don't take your basic safety precautions. Here's some tips on how to keep it safe. Jim, what are the main areas to look at?
Well, you should focus on ensuring the equipment is in good shape, that you have the appropriate wetsuit on, and that you've monitored the conditions and are capable of handling them.
We will now make sure that you are aware of how to look after yourself on the water and sail safely. Think prevention rather than cure. Follow these 7 common senses. Is all your equipment safe and suitable? Clothing. Make sure you are wearing suitable clothing to keep yourself warm and comfortable during your sailing session. The board. Check the mast foot UJ and deck plate for signs of wear and tear, and ensure the fin is secure and in good condition. The rig. Check that all ropes are secure and in good condition. Masts and booms should be checked for signs of wear and tear and should be replaced if there is any doubt. The most common need for rescue is equipment failure. Tell someone where you're going and when you'll be back. Always ensure that a responsible person knows that you have gone on the water and that you have returned. Obtain a forecast for the local sailing area. To avoid getting caught out by changing conditions, get a weather forecast. Are you capable of handling the prevailing conditions? Ensure that you are adequately experienced to deal with the conditions that you are going out in. Developing your skills in more challenging conditions should be done at a safe location. If in doubt, don't go out. Sail with others. It's a lot more fun to windsurf with others. Not only do you learn from each other, but also there'll always be somebody there close should you need a hand. Avoid strong tides, offshore winds, and poor visibility. Consider other water users. Attracting attention. Sometimes, however, conditions or circumstances are simply out of your control and you may need help. If this is the case, there are a variety of simple ways of attracting the attention of an instructor, a safety boat, or just the nearest person to you who might be able to help or at least could alert others on land that definitely could. The international distress signal is when you repeatedly raise and lower both arms either side of your body whilst kneeling or sitting on your board. Blowing a whistle. The key is to act immediately when you realise that you need help so as not to drift out of sight or earshot. Self-rescue. Ultimately, there might be a time when you need to help yourself and self-rescue. Turtle. An alternative technique for helping yourself in no wind or very light wind when you're struggling to sail is the turtle method. Lie down between the boom and sail so you're lying on the inside of the boom with the sail over the top of you. The mast foot should be facing forwards with the boom clear of the water. Paddle back to shore. If you are struggling to get downwind through being too tired or the wind being too strong, you can use a technique known as flagging downwind. From your start position, lean the rig towards the front of the board until both board and sail are pointing downwind. Stand just behind the rig with your feet either side of the mast foot and let the wind blow you downwind. By leaning the rig from side to side, you can steer. Full D-rig. This method is an extreme style of self-rescue where you take apart the rig to enable you to paddle ashore without the rig hindering you. Use of the full D-rig to self-rescue should be considered as a last resort because D-rigging in open water is extremely difficult. Golden rules for self-rescue. Always paddle or steer to the nearest bit of land rather than trying to get back to where you might have launched. Never abandon a board as it is your buoyancy. Now that you are cruising around on your windsurfer, just as with vehicles on roads, it is necessary to learn some basic rights of way so as to be safe and courteous to other water users. Port gives way to starboard. If you are sailing on port tack, you should keep out of the way of another board or boat that is sailing in the opposite direction on starboard tack. The easiest way to remember this is if your front arm on the boom is your right arm, then you have right of way over anyone coming the other way. Windward gives way to leeward. When two boards are sailing on the same tack, the windward board, the one closest to the source of the wind, must give way to the leeward board, the one furthest downwind. When overtaking, the overtaking board must keep clear. In addition, and to avoid confusion, the board ahead must hold its course to allow the overtaking board to pass either side.
Okay, Frederick, we're going to look at trying to get your jives a bit more tuned up, a bit faster. How many parts of the jive are there?
I don't know, just one or two.
2 or 3, maybe like a story. A good story is a beginning, is a middle, and is an end.
Okay.
Yeah. So most things start from the beginning. If we start in a good shape, we have the best chance to control the rig at the exit. We can open the sail in the middle and keep our shape through the carving section. So all we're going to do now is look at the preparation, all right? So all you're going to do is, when we're blasting in a straight line, yeah, and we unhook and go downwind, what have we got? What have we got when we're going in a straight line? Speed?
Speed, yeah.
Speed. Do we need that in the carve?
Yeah, for sure.
For sure. The faster we go, the better the more carves. So if we want to keep our speed before we even start jibing, then often is the case people lose speed before they even get into the jibe. So to do that, what you must do is sail along, full speed, and put your backhand down the boom right to there. That's how far it goes, down to there. Right, now watch what happens when I unhook. If I unhook like that, it means I keep the sail sheeted in. See how much the sail is sheeted in now? And then if I've started from a bent body position low, I can then bear the board away and I sail, I don't carve, I sail the first further turn.
On the first,
The broad reach.
Sailing.
Sailing, yeah, I sail on a broad reach. So you must sail that distance for 10 board lengths. All right, so good distance. So therefore you must start your jibe a lot earlier. You put the backhand down early. You unhook and hang early and you broad reach and sail fast. And then you have speed. So all you're going to do is try to sail the first third of the turn. So you're going to sail along, you're going to hook him, you put your backhand down the boom, unhook, imagine you're in a bar, you're going to unhook and sit your ass on a bar stool. Yeah, and have a nice drink down there.
And I'm going to start the turn.
And then you push from here, yeah, from here, in a straight line like this, and then you push the board off the wind with the front foot, pull the back foot, and you'll bear away in the board reach and go really fast. Then the back foot comes across, then you're going to come over, and because you're already low, you're going to continue low and look to carve in a low body position with extended arm. What we're going to concentrate on now is the preparation. So just step onto the simulator and try that. Just going to put a bit more wind. Okay, so there, go overhand grip, there we go. So hook in, bang, and lean out, straighten your arms. Release the power. Okay, look at wind, here's the wind. Straight front leg, bent back leg, hands together, push the rig away, drop your hips. Okay, slide your backhand down the boom, all the way, that's it. Now unhook, just bend your arms and stay low. Now, that's it. If the wind gets lighter, you raise your hips slightly and the rig comes upright. If the wind is strong, you drop your hips more. But you see, now that your arms are extended and your body's low, the rig is powerful and still sheeted in. And from there, you would bear away. Full speed on a broad reach. Yeah? And then the back foot will come out the strap, and then you'll come in and carve. And when you go over and carve, come over with me, straighten your arms, you go over, keep your arms extended and drop into turn and just keep the arms extended, front arm extended and push through the back foot. And that's all you're going to do. And everything else, that's the next bit. Okay, preparation. Backhand down the boom. That's good. Go wide, wide. Bear away. Now carve. And keep the front arm extended. Now look out the turn. Now look forwards, bring the rig back. Already looking better. Yeah, we're liking that speed. We're liking much more preparation and much slower set up to the carve, yeah? So it takes everything backhand down, unhook, hang. Then he bears away then he gradually carves the board. If you might notice in the arc of his carve, the carve was much more gradual. It was constant but increasing pressure for the back foot. And that is a key to a nice smooth carve. Frederick, much better.
Okay.
So, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. What is the difference?
The difference now, I'll have more control under the first half of the jibe.
Okay, so
I know where to put my hands. And I know
you
where
put
to
your hands. So you put your backhand down the boom. How does that make you feel when you're unhooking?
a bit
and
more stable.
More stable, more stable. So you're able to keep more speed throughout the unhooking and the preparation part of the jibe.
Yeah.
And then what do you do after you've unhooked?
Yeah, I'll start turning and
Start going downwind, and you went downwind for longer, didn't you?
yeah, much longer than before.
Much longer before. And what was happening all the time? We're going downwind for longer.
I kept on the speed.
Kept the speed. So we're going to look at the mid part of the jibe now. Okay, so the middle part of the turn, we are looking, after our preparation, our backhands down the boom, we're looking to look out of the turn. So let's just look at that body position now, like this. Look at this. The front arm is going to be stretched forward, yeah? So the rig is forward and your body is back. And your backhand will have the sail open. You'll be looking this way, down your backhand at the clue. So open, that's it. And you can feel now all the weight is on your back foot, isn't it? Right, and the front arm's extended. That gives the rig more power. And because all the weight's on this foot, you can lift this foot now. Lift this foot, and then you can do your foot change. Because this foot has no weight on it. And then you can step forward, like that, and you keep your weight on your new back foot, but you keep the weight on the new back foot. Yeah. Here comes Frederick right now, backhands down the boom. He's unhooked, he's hanging, broad reach, and now here. Look out the turn, nice gentle carve, okay? And it's just gonna be, as he's learning this first bit of the turn, it's just gonna be a bit unusual as he gets his rig rotations in, but he's looking out the turn. Backhand down the boom now. Okay, looking at Frederick now, backhand down the boom now. Unhook, sail broad. Then go wide, nice gentle carve. Now open the sail and look out the turn. That's already a better carve jibe. That's already a better carve jibe. The exit, we're gonna work on.
Yeah.
So we've prepared early by backhand down the boom, unhook and hang, sail the first third of the turn. Now we're carving wider and dead downwind, we're looking out the turn. We're now gonna look at the exit. Now we've looked at in the carve jibe chapter, clue first sailing, and these non-planing carve jibes. So these will be the massive thing for you to practice on light winds. But looking at your jibe right now, so we're going to look at your foot change here. So your foot change is going to be such that all the weight's on the back foot. So your back leg's bent. Because you're looking out a turn, all the weight's on that foot. You then bring your front heel to your back toe. That's it. And then step forwards there and keep the new back leg bent. All the weight is now on the bent back leg. So sink the weight onto the heel of your back foot. And then you slide your front hand and rotate the rig. It goes all the way back and all the way forwards. So try that on here. So step on there, whack your front foot in the foot strap there. So put your front foot in the foot strap, your back foot there. Have your hands in position. Remember, your back hand's there. Now the front arm's extended. Now you're looking at me. Now twist your front foot across. That's it. Now, no, it comes across to here. That's it, right to there. So it comes to there. Heel to toe. Now step forwards, but keep your weight over the bent back leg. So your front leg will place. It places forwards. Now you can slide your front hand to the mast. That's it. And then rotate the rig. And then grab the rig. Keep looking forwards. And now bring the rig forwards and wait until it's way past you. And then you drop down, get low, and exit. Right? Okay, so nice jibe from Frederick there, looking out the turn, okay, keeping the rig forward and the body back on the exit. Look at his stance there, he's really driving the board. Nice straight arms, low body position, heading upwind, ready for the next jibe. Okay, right, so what's the most important thing to do with the rig if we're trying to get them all planing? Push it away from you. So where would the rig be in relation to the board? Yeah, a bit forwards and upright, okay? So if we look at our three key parts of stance, is our head, yeah, our hips and our hands, right? Where those three things go makes all the difference in planing or not planing, full speed or not full speed, right? So if you'd like to come around to the front of the board here, please. So, where's our head going to be going? Going to be looking where we're going, yeah? And where our hand's going to be on the boom. Relatively shoulder width, relatively close together. And our hips, what can they do to control power and produce power? Yeah. So the hips can move in to produce power and move down to control power. So head, always think head, hands and hips. Yeah. So when we're trying to get more planing, we're going to move from that, we're going to move into that. And that puts the rig forwards and upwards. So head's looking forwards. Our hands are shoulder apart to get the rig more forwards, and our hips are quite low. Yeah? So, let's do that again. So head, hands and hips. We're looking forward. We put the rig forwards and upright, we get the maximum power from the rig. And that means that when we're about to get planing, there's no weight on the front foot. We should be able to do that. Yeah? And then I can go straight into the foot strap. And then if we're going front foot strap first, we're then more able to keep speed and then hook in. Bit of a pelvic thrust there, and away we go. Okay, so do you want to try that? Yep. Okay, so head, hands and hips. Where's your head going to go? Hands, hips, bring your hands closer together, that's good. Now, drop down, really drop down, put the rig in a powerful position, that's excellent. So we've got to see nice extended arms here, straight front leg, bent back leg, and the hips will move in when there's less power. That's good, and there's more power, hands, hips move back. Okay, so lift your front foot and whack it in the foot strap. That's good, excellent, excellent. Okay, and to hook in, bit of a pelvic thrust. Bang, away we go, that's good. Okay, good, and drop your hips in, there we go, that's good. Okay, there we go. And when the wind's getting lighter now, so as the wind gets lighter, just lift your hips and push your rig away. So just hook in again, bring the boom to you and drop your hips into the line. That's good. Okay, excellent. So as the wind gets lighter, yeah, you've got to lift your hips and keep the rig away. So push the rig away, that keeps you hooked in. Try that again one more time. So hook in there, that's excellent. Now, as the wing gets lighter, you've got to lift your hips in. That's excellent, yes. There we go. Keep your arms straight. You've got to keep your hips committed to the harness. And then when the lull comes, you've got to raise your hips. Okay, cool, and unhook and step off there. Okay, what's going well? Okay. If as I'm planing, right, my body is facing forward, what is the sail doing? Is it open or is it sheeted in? Open. So what do I want to do with my rear hip, my rear shoulder? So what are you going to do? Drop. You face forwards to get planing, and then as you accelerate, your rear hip and your rear shoulder. And you watch as my rear hip and rear shoulder sinks down, back and out, the sail will sheet in. Because of apparent wind and stuff like that, you've got to sheet in as you accelerate, and that keeps you across the wind. So there, you're a lovely stance coming in, but your stance was straight, yeah, arms, straight front leg, bent back leg, but it's facing forward. So you want to utilise your good stance of straight arms and your good body position, but sinking the rear hip and the rear shoulder. It's that sinking and the sail coming from facing forwards to facing across the board that gets you to do it. And that is like, imagine you're sitting on a bar stool. So imagine, rather than the bar stool being over the board, the bar stool is about here. So take a little seat there. And that makes you go from facing up the board to facing across the board. Your head's looking forward, and you here getting planing, and then planing. As you drop and sit your ass down, nice gin and tonic, away you go. All right, and that's it. No problem. Go on, get planing. Go on. Go on, Tara. Yes! And Tara's sinking down on the rear hip a bit more now. Sinking down, back and out the rear hip. There's a big difference there. Lots more speed. Lots more speed. That's excellent.
Hello, my name is Peterson. I'd like to introduce you to our latest film. Yeah! This is the jump that everybody wants. Take off on a round ramp going slightly downwind. Look behind you and keep the mast hand very close to your body. Keep your weight forwards and over the toe side. The heels are beginning to be weighted at this point. Get a wide grip on the boom and take the back foot out the strap. Throw your body forward while staying committed and compact. Front arm really extending and keep looking back. Keep tucked up and then go for a tail first landing.
You've got just the way to go, but you picture a different story from the one I want to know. Don't try to scratch me out like I was never there. I need room to stretch my dreams. I wonder if you care. But I can't change for you or anyone. Watch me breaking through like the summer sun. used to be a stone's throw. I used to know a secret code right to your heart. I used to breathe in colored air, used to feel you everywhere. But now it's dark. Must have come right in while we were sleeping, and I don't understand. No, I don't understand. When couldn't be whiter, couldn't be whiter. Used to feel the chemistry, used to bring me sanity from everything. Hey, used to spin the world away, a keepsake for a rainy day. You're everything to me. You're everything to me. Must have come right in while we were sleeping, and I don't understand. No, I don't understand. When couldn't be whiter, couldn't be whiter. Couldn't be whiter, couldn't be whiter than I wanted how it used to be. It used to be you and me. Could we ever be again? Must have come right in while we were sleeping, and I don't understand. No, I don't understand. When couldn't be whiter, couldn't be whiter than couldn't be whiter, couldn't be whiter
Yes, we'll guide you with a handful of international sailings. Yes. Yes, we'll guide you with a handful of... Focus! Focus, Adam, focus! Bring your hands together! Look forward! Bend the back legs! Don't hook in! What an utter bender!
Something going down tonight. The pavement's still warm and I'm just feeling right. The city is calling my name. 1,000 voices are singing of fortune and pain. And I've been rocking, pumping, jumping, stomping on my feet. I wanna go clubbing all night on that dirty beat. Cause I've been slipping, sliding, falling on my elbows and knees. I'm gonna go get what's mine. Oh, if you please. Yeah, 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 yeah. Life is passing by. So long. No destination. Will I see the light by the end of night? My salvation. The city shines so bright. We got guys on the payroll and the girls are out tonight. The fish are dancing again. I'll bet on a hook. The story never ends. And I've been rocking, pumping, jumping, stomping on my feet. I wanna go clubbing all night on that dirty beat. Cause I've been slipping, sliding, falling on my elbows and knees. I'm gonna go get what's mine. Oh, if you please. Yeah, 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 yeah. Life is passing by.